What's up, guys? Good evening. How's everybody doing? It's going to be a very different special stream tonight. Although this isn't going to encompass the entire stream. Hello, Limi, or hello. What's up, Beely, Seth, Warlock, Athel, Vanishing Point? Congratulations on being first. Welcome to the debate stream. I'm actually about to call Siptonic here in just a second. And we'll get started. I've never done this before, but I think it's gonna go pretty well. Like, he's a pretty reasonable guy, and there's not gonna be any, like, weird stuff going on, so... with that out of the way, I will go ahead and call him now, and we'll get started. Also, Peach, thank you for the 7-stream streak. Once I call him, I'm not really gonna be responding to chat as much. But we might do a Q&A, so... Hello, Wolfie. Alright, I'm gonna call him now.
Hello, hello.
Hello? Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Just need to enable you on OBS. Okay. Can you speak up again for me, please?
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
If my chat wants to yell at me if you're too loud or too quiet, they are free to do so.
Yep, same thing for my chat. If he's too loud or too quiet, let me know.
Alright, cool. Alright, so you kind of did an intro to your homies for, I guess, why we're coming together?
Not exactly the why. I mostly just explained the
sure.
what. So if you wanted to explain the why, then...
Sure. Oh, yeah. Like a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of background.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So a number of days ago, it was like maybe like 5-6 days ago. I'm not going to say the other numbers. I think we had played a game. You were Ghoul. I think I was actually it must have been Sunday maybe, like when I do my open Swift lobbies, and you were doing a slugging build. I think we got what?
It's Fallen Refuge.
The Fallen Refuge. And
yeah.
After when the game was over, did I say in endgame chat? I'm pretty sure I didn't blow you up. I didn't say any slurs.
No, you didn't. I remember it pretty well.
But yeah, it was like basically this is kind of like a boring play style. It's kind of, it's kind of annoying to go against because we've been seeing it more frequently. And then, you had made the statement about how it's kind of like necessary given sort of the meta of the game and specifically fast track and whatnot. And then you had made the tweet with the video.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, I think?
Yeah.
Like the clip, yeah.
Exactly what you said was, I'm sure you're a good guy and all, but I loathe the way you played that.
Yes. Yeah, because I had played with you when we played Survivor some time back. I don't know if we played more than one game.
I think we had like 2 or 3 games together on Survivor.
Yeah. And yep, that is exactly, I'm pretty sure word for word what I said. And then you had posted on that tweet in a reply that you'd be down to like debate like anyone, not like, wasn't directed specifically at me, just like anyone who had, any interest of like chatting with you on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of why we're here.
Yep. So here we are.
Yeah, and I had no issue. I gave you kind of like a, so it was maybe a little bit more formal, or so it was, we had something to talk about specifically, kind of like a list of things related to your tweet, and then kind of what people have been talking about online a lot in terms of their complaints. Mostly what I see from killer players. I don't really see a whole lot of Survivor complaints right now, other than maybe like, I hate Ghoul, I hate slugging.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a lot of Survivor complaints right now either, especially because like we're about to see what, like Blight nerfed. which would be like
Yeah.
if I was only a survivor player, that'd be my biggest complaint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked. Like, there's certain things that I specifically just don't like that I know I kind of share the same sentiment with a lot of people. But Blight's definitely, especially, with like Momo doing his streak and just what the game has kind of turned into, Blight's kind of that huge outlier. And it's, you
Yeah.
know how like some perks for a while, because I think a good example was Haywire with Singularity, as well as, I don't know when it was maybe a couple years ago, some perk came out and, it had to be like looked at and toned down from
Oh,
PTB
I
because
know what it
Nurse
was.
just existed.
Yeah, it was awakened awareness for Wesker.
Ah, yeah. Yep, it was. Yep. Like, we're kind of in that area where I think behavior really has to start looking at some of those top killers and maybe squishing the overall power, maybe. Because it does seem to be kind of a limiting factor for just design and fun.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And what would you think about them nerfing Nurse by giving her base kit blindness whenever she charges a blink?
Base kit blindness. Oh, so she can't see auras?
Yeah.
Honestly, so the funny thing is, I think they need to come to kind of a side note. I mean, I don't mind that. I don't even know if that's needed. Like, there's two things that kind of confuse me. My chat has kind of brought up, like, maybe nowhere to hide should just be around the generator and shouldn't follow your character model after you kick things, so that way it can't, like, hyper benefit killers that have mobility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a consideration for Nurse. I think I mean nowhere to hide on Nurse is probably one of my most hated things on all of Survivor, and I feel like it's not even that the perk moves with you. It's that if you exist around that generator at all, she has a free hit on you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. It's like you, and then if you kind of are near that area, it forces you to run. In which case, the Nurse will probably find you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess to me, Nurse specifically, the thing that kind of bugs me more than anything, I hadn't thought about that point you brought up, the blindness, but they cannot decide whether they want to allow her to have 3 blinks or not, and under which capacity that exists. I'm not saying her 3 blink add-on is necessarily strong, but to go from like a time where she had multiple blinks, Omega blink, to no 3 blinks, to know she's gonna have 3 blinks but she can't blink through objects, to now it's just like a longer cooldown. I don't see that necessarily as a problem. I'm happy they're nerfing the lunge add-on on her. And are they tweaking the one that allows her to like reverse and start blinking again?
I don't think they touched that one. I
No?
am really happy that they're touching heavy panting. I think it should be touched to the point where it no longer exists, but a nerf is also good.
Yeah. No, I like it's kind of a side point, and I guess we're kind of just starting with something extra, but that's fine. It feels like they couldn't really decide what they wanted to do with Nurse in terms of like how her add-ons change her power. And they kind of did the same thing with Spirit, but then they added in Cherry Blossom. So it's like, people rejoice because they're nerfing some of these killers that just kind of feel problematic or feel like the counterplay doesn't really exist in a meaningful capacity, especially to your average player. But then they give her an add-on that almost completely or undoes like 80% of the nerf. So it just feels like the needle isn't really being moved, with some of those changes.
That makes a lot of sense.
I wish they would just kind of like put their foot down and be like, okay, we've had Nurse with like multiple blinks for so long. Let's just have it be 2. Or like I thought it was like kind of a good idea. If she's gonna have 3, she can't blink through solid objects. That's kind of a cool concept because it changes the way Nurse is played. Whereas like the Cherry Blossom thing with Spirit, okay, that almost just completely undid the nerf that you could just like fix with an add-on.
Yeah, I like that idea.
That I don't like.
I like that idea of 3 blinks but not through objects, because it's like you're recreating 2v8 Wesker from first principles.
Right. Yeah. Where it's like it has to be line of sight, and and it's something as Survivor that I feel like it's really easy to learn and then play around. It's not something you need to like guess. Like, does she have this thing that like mildly changes her power by like 10-20%? It's like, no, she physically can't go through rocks and you can see it.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you want to get in,
Yeah.
let's get into the real topics. And also, I feel like, do you want to like do introductions? Because like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't really
Yeah.
know your chat, and you don't really know my chat. So
Yeah. So I can go first.
okay,
My name's Siptonic. I've been playing DBD pretty much since 2018. I played the game when it came out, maybe like 30 hours. I actually only played Killer. Just really wasn't that interested, but I've been playing it consistently, primarily Survivor since 2018. I have about 12,000 hours, and I would probably say over 10,000 of that is on Survivor for sure. And honestly, a decent mix of, excuse me, solo queue and Swift. I would probably say like 5,000 plus hours of solo queue. I love solo queue. Even though it's kind of in one of the shittiest states right now, I think it's just kind of due to my feeling of DBD. But yeah, so I've been creating content. I'm not really super competitive. I kind of just, like, my preferred gameplay is to go in and, have 1v1s with the killer in terms of like chase and trying to, mess around with mind games and window techs. And I just love hovering for saves. When I play killer, because I do every now and then, I'm more of like a hillbilly huntress. Used to play Bubba and Myers, but I just hate what they did to Myers. I have like no interest. I really liked the first when he came out. I was kind of messing with him, but I feel he gets really punished for like spamming his power. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Mostly Survivor, definitely. I feel like I try and have arguments that are kind of middle of the road. Like I understand where a lot of this is kind of like my main intro point. I understand where a lot of killers' complaints come from, and a lot of the issues. But I think the major problem that exists is they point to the wrong, like, source of their issues, and a lot of it just turns into like an us versus them. And a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't realize like the state that the game is in now is also a result of some of the changes that they wanted back in the day, and eventually it just kind of pushed the game into a more competitive spot than it used to be, and I think a lot of people just don't like that.
okay. So I'll go then.
Mhm.
I'm Prion. Hello. I am probably a like 60% killer, 40% survivor player. I have only been playing DBD since February 2022, when Artist was the newest killer. Let's see here. Before I was playing Dead by Daylight, I was a collegiate competitive Overwatch player. So I have a background in esports, and I quickly got involved in the competitive side of DBD once I started playing it. And now, because I have a full-time job, there's no time to do that. So I interact with the competitive DBD scene by being a tournament caster for Dead by Daylight League, which is where a lot of people recognize my voice from. And that perspective kind of informs how I look at the game. I also play a vast majority solo queue when I'm on Survivor, just like you.
Yep.
And let's see, what else should I say? When
When you play
I
solo queue, when you play Survivor,
Mhm.
do you primarily, like, do you derive fun mostly from escaping the chase and escaping? Do you ever do stuff like Sabo, flashlight plays, weird perk combos, or is it more so just like the chase
Yeah.
and escaping?
That's a good question. For me, it's like 100%, well, probably 90+% chase and escaping. I have been running a pool of the same 8 perks probably for the last 2 years straight. I can probably count on only 2 hands the amount of flashlight save I've gotten in the last 2 years. I rarely, if ever, bring silly or meme builds in solo queue. And yeah, that's kind of how I play Survivor. My fun comes from beating the killer in chase and escaping. And let's see. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's a intro for me. I'm
Yeah.
more of a competitive person. Like, I would say that when I go into a game, I'm looking to win. That's not always possible in DBD, of course.
Okay. Yep.
A lot of the games that I like played before I got to DBD were kind of different, because I would say that in DBD there are a lot of variables that are kind of like outside of skill,
Yes.
so to speak, which is like not the same for the games that I like played before. Yeah, but I guess that's my intro. It's nice to meet you, Siptonic's chat.
Yeah. And nice to meet your chat. Okay, I think this will be kind of a fun discussion, and I feel like already some of the things you've said, I kind of feel like you seem like the sensible enough person to probably have recognized that. The specific point you brought up about like elements beyond your control, but you still like it and you still like to, be competitive with it, even
Yeah, of course.
in regards to that. Do you feel like, I guess a first little question, do you feel that that goes both ways? Like the element of like RNG or things beyond your control, or do you feel like it's much more on the killer side than it is from the survivor side?
I would say it depends. So, like, let's say that like you're loading in on killer, right? The first thing that's out of your control is the map, and that changes the way that you play. But that also goes for the survivors too. Like you can load in on survivor against a nurse and be on midwich. You can load in on killer and be trapper on bad ham preschool. And I think that's intentional in the game design. They've said before,
Yeah.
I think on the dev streams, that they always want there to be like things that can tilt the game in the favor of like somebody who's not as good of a player.
Sure.
And I'm fine with that. It can be frustrating sometimes, but I totally acknowledge that it's part of the game.
Yup. I think there's and it might kind of be at the core of a lot of my points. You have recognized this, and you accept this, and you continue to play the game. I feel like a lot of arguments that are made online completely ignore the fact that that is the design and intention of the game and the devs. That there are elements that are always going to exist in probably every match where you don't have as much control as you would a different game. Or like a different match of DBD, or even a different game outside of DBD. And it feels like a lot of people want to push DBD into a corner where there is almost no RNG, there is almost no chance, and it's all just completely skill based. Which I don't know how you can have arguments with people like that when if that's not how the devs want their game to be. I don't understand the point of even having that conversation, because you want a game that they don't intend to make.
Yeah,
So
and
it's weird to me.
I think I agree with you there, but then like my kind of line that I would look at it from is, to what extent do we want things to be out of the player's control?
Yeah. And yeah, that's about the only thing you can have an argument on. The problem is like you could probably talk for years on that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough, because especially with how many killer powers there are and how many perks there are and how many different, all of that can also be, influenced heavily by the map. Like there's just so many elements to this game. That's why like I think perfect balance, or even sometimes the concept and talk of balance, is just kind of not that you can't have it. It just seems so silly when you start getting into the weeds, because it devolves into a lot of scenario this, context this, and then like people's personal experiences being different. It's just a really tough conversation to come to any sort of meaningful like agreement when people are at different ends.
Yeah, I think the competitive scene has done like a monumental task of trying to like sand down as many things that are like out of the player's control as humanly possible. And in the end, since I have a lot of experience with like the rule sets for those, in the end, the thing that they can never change is map generation. They can choose what map they're going to be on, but they can't change the fact that this team had a strong tile here and this team didn't. And at a certain point, they just accept that and say like, okay, this is the best we can do to make everything balanced.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do think the comp scene is interesting. I've watched some tournaments, and some of it's like when it's casted well and, the production value is pretty good, it's really entertaining.
I must not be there for those.
Why? Why do you say that?
Oh,
Are you making a joke at yourself?
Yeah, I'm just making a joke about myself.
Joke at your own expense? No, I don't know. I do enjoy it sometimes. I just hate the effect that like the whole comp scene has had on like the attitude of the community. I think it's just kind of pushed it into this really awkward spot where people are like talking about the same things but having a completely different conversation, if that makes sense,
Yeah, well, I mean, could you elaborate more on that? Like, what do you think it's changed?
In DBD.
Like in the community?
Okay, so let's look at one of our points kind of near the end because that kind of ties in. So do you? This is going to be a hard conversation to have because you started literally within like the past 5 years.
Yep.
Do you think, for your knowledge and maybe like people that you've played with or befriended in the comp scene, do you think DBD is a more competitive game now than it was when it first came out in the first like say 3 to 5 years?
I would have to say that it is, and
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't come from me like playing as long as you have, but what it comes from is like uh analytics and looking at like the DVD Twitch category and community, and just like undeniably the competitive community is growing extremely fast.
Exactly.
Like you can't look at like the top competitive players and the way that their viewership is like doubling every 6 months and then say that the game isn't more competitive than it was.
Right, right. And I mean, the fact that Dead by Daylight themselves are endorsing and like I'm platforming more like tournaments,
Hmm.
There's more tournaments than there were before. There's multiple different types of leagues. There's leagues that are based on seasons. There are literally people, now you could maybe make the argument that in the first 5 years there weren't really like tournaments. I mean, there were, but I mean, you have literal content creators now whose entire platform, and some of them very successfully so, are based purely on them showing their skill in maybe like one tournament. Like, I don't know if necessarily like Nightlight is a good example, but like there are people that are huge now, and when they were growing on Twitch, I still didn't even know who they were, aside from, oh, they're an amazing comp player. They're amazing. They're an amazing nurse. Like, this game didn't have that option back then.
Yeah, and there are also people who are like completely outside of the public match space, and they only stream 1v1s that are coordinated in a little Discord.
Right. Okay. I feel like we probably would have agreed on that. It's just, I see a lot of discourse where people, and I don't know how long a lot of them have been playing, but a lot of people don't believe that the game is more competitive now. They feel like the game was more competitive when it came out, and I don't know. I don't know where that sentiment comes from.
But maybe I can take
I
a
don't know
stab
how
at
you.
where that comes from.
Yeah, how
Like,
would you try and describe that?
so I see and hear a lot about old DVD, like posts
Mm-hmm.
about like how things were and like what no longer exists, and I feel like maybe those people take their idea of competitive from like kind of the perspective of like what power does each side have and like what are they fighting each other with, and maybe they think that like because Mori's on first down and instant generator brand new parts are gone, then that means that behavior is way more focused on balance right now, which means more competitive to them. I don't think that, but maybe that's where they're coming from.
But then wouldn't that mean it is more competitive now?
I guess if that's the definition that you ascribe to competitive.
Yeah, the fact that when DVD first came out, you could start a game and in the first like 30 seconds have one generator left, or in the first 30 seconds get down by a Bubba and then get moried. Like, and yes, those are hyper specific examples, but like, I don't know if I could ever take a game seriously like that, like try and play in a competitive setting
Yeah,
when
exactly.
that is an option afforded to you, or when Windows didn't block, the entity blocker wasn't a thing. It's just, I there's there were so many more elements back then that would just hard cap a win or a loss than there are now. Like, there's so many, like, your impact in decision making now has way more effect than it used to. And I don't know how people could argue against that. When you look at things like that, map sizes, infinites, like actual infinites, long wall windows into shack, sprint bursts that you could get back in chase, the BMPs, the Instamories. I mean, it was more chaotic back then.
People self-carrying during the killer's attack cooldown.
Yeah, exactly. And, and I think that's also kind of a part of the discussion where people, um, I think survivors have trouble making a good case and being like, especially because it's Twitter and you're limited on characters. But people will constantly say, I loved when DBD was more chaotic and people didn't care to win as much back then. And like usually the response is always from, the killer camp, like, oh, you just liked it because it was more broken. And it's like, it's not, and this kind of goes back to my initial claim about how people don't really like, I guess, articulate themselves well. I don't think it's necessarily that people like the fact that Killer was maybe in their mind weaker or the game was more broken. I think they just liked the energy that resulted from it. They liked they could just get on a game and like, there has never really been a screen that says you win, you lose. You kind of just play and whatever you have fun doing and what, maybe it's hiding, maybe it's doing a gen in half a second and then, escaping. Like it was just there were more elements of randomness and craziness from match to match that the average from match to match wasn't the same. So it just created more variety in a way.
Yeah,
But yes, like,
I understand that.
like ultimately the killer role, like, and this will maybe be another point, but like in my opinion, the killer role was a lot weaker back then, comparative to now. Not like proportionally speaking, that's kind of where I think a lot of people might disagree, but in terms of, because you asked me, what do I not like about, like, what the competitive scene in DBD has kind of done? Is that what you had asked me initially?
Yeah, like about like what you feel like it's changed in the community as a whole.
I think it's put a lot more priority on kill. I think it took the shift away from learning DBD as a whole, learning the killer's power and how to be skilled in chase in terms of pathing and mind games. It's taken a lot of emphasis off of that because you kind of needed to have that. And it's put the emphasis more on just the result, the 4K, as opposed to how you got there. So I think what you see is you see a lot more killers, like a lot of killers that are chosen are killers that don't have much counterplay in their anti-loop, anti-loop or chase power, and are very hypermobile and 4K. Like the elements to me that have always made a great killer are how good is their mobility, how insane is their like time to kill with their chase power, and if that's tied to their mobility, then they're an amazing killer. And you see that with like Blight Ghoul Nurse. Like it's
Yep.
just they're all insanely
100% agree
strong.
with that. That's the trifecta that makes a strong
That's the
killer.
trifecta. And it like if you played the game for any amount of time, you just see that. What are the killers that are not chosen? What do they lack? Mobility,
Yeah, or maybe they have
or
mobility, but they just have no chase.
yeah, they have no chase, or it's just not good enough. Like the survivor input can influence their time to kill too much.
Yeah, like I could play Pyramid Head, who's got like a insane anti-loop power, but if I'm playing against 4 smart survivors all with sprint burst, I'm gonna get like 1 kill.
Right. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the main point. Is I think the shift has been too much on it. It feels like it's just about the 4K. It's just about how many kills you have, and maybe that's not the case, but like everything kind of boils down to I'll pull up actually a tweet that I saw today. And again, I'm not like I told my chat this, I brought this up earlier. This isn't like a see if I can copy this because you might have seen it.
Oh,
But
sure.
it's
Did you want to
not
like send it to me in Discord?
Yeah, I can send it to you. I didn't blur out the name, and again, this isn't like an attack on this person, but this sort of sentiment is what I see a lot, where um, the talk is, oh my god, I share a screenshot of the end game. My gens went by so fast. These perks that give like free generator progress that's permanent. Like as you can see, a few survivors had them, but they end up getting 3 or 4 kills anyway. And the complaint down below that they reiterated is that I understand I won, but the match was extremely close and closer than it had to be. Um,
Yeah, you
and
know
this
what?
might not be necessarily.
I actually had a game almost exactly like this yesterday. Um,
Mhm.
so maybe I can talk about that a little bit, and we can go to the point
Well,
from there.
so I well, if you don't mind, I'll finish kind of like my
Yeah,
complaint. I don't know if this is necessarily tied to comp, but it's like I think because maybe the end result, the 4K, the 3K, how many people you kill is so highly prioritized. I think they like people will always find something to complain about, even if they got what they wanted. And the problem that I see with like a lot of these tweets is it's the same thing. It's a screenshot typically of people doing like the end result is just fine. They got 3 kills, 4 kills, maybe only two, and they will post perks that they're, complaining about, but like there's not context for people online. And like that's the issue with kind of like rage baiting or just like posting online or bitching. We don't know if you made every possible decision that was smart. We don't know if you spent a minute and a half trying to find a survivor, just, circling around. Maybe you did see one on your screen, but you didn't see it. There's never really any context to like get people to agree with you like, yeah, you played that really well. Their perk should have never, brought them to this point. And
yeah,
that's
I
kind
get
of
what
the
you
issue
mean.
that I have with posts like that.
Yep, and yeah, so like I had a game a couple days ago. I did tweet about it, but like not in this capacity. I tweeted about it
Mhm.
because the person that I tunneled came to my chat to tell me to kill myself. Um,
Okay.
I was
Yeah,
playing
average normal DBD
yeah,
person.
I was playing D&D Vecna on Toba Landing, and like I had like consecutive chases with this Anon mode player, and they were normal. Like they were pretty
Mhm.
normal chases. He didn't like run me or anything. I cut him off with fly. He had Dead Hard and DS, but it didn't really buy him that much time. I
Right.
hook him for the third time at 4 gens. In 30 seconds, 3 more gens popped, and all 3 survivors that I hadn't been chasing had hyper focus stakeout fast track at the end.
Mhm.
And I mean, I ended up getting 3 kills because like somebody like made a bad play end game when the doors were powered. It should have only
Right.
been 2.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like maybe from this we can get into the whole playing against perks and not players thing. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 I mean, we can get into that. We talked a little bit about competitive. I guess just to get maybe your kind of like end opinion on comp. Do you feel well, no, well, we can tie it back to that with a different thing. We can tie it in with something else.
Okay.
We can talk about the perks, playing against perks, not players. That's a common thing that I see that I oh there is so much I could talk about this in terms of how I disagree with what people say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so do you want us to talk about like your experience you just had with that game specifically, or just like do we want to start talking about it in general?
Let's just go general.
Okay, so general, um, this is how DBD has always been. I made some tweets. I don't know if you saw them recently, but I hate the concept. I hate, like I actually hate. I mean that word when people say that they get punished for doing their job.
Okay.
Every survivor perk is literally intended to leave the killer with the same sort of feeling. There is not a singular survivor perk, and I haven't even like maybe you could come up with one. I would probably guarantee like 95% of survivor perks are all going to give value and benefit as a result of killer doing something they're supposed to. That's because the killer is the survivor role, and like from a lore standpoint, they are always on the defensive, and they can never really be the aggressor in the way that a killer can. You can't kill a killer, you can't hook them, you can't, get them out of the game. They're always in the game, they're always affecting some sort of influence. So the perks that you will see counter to like what a killer is doing is always going to be to get the survivor back in the game, to further their objective, to heal them, to get them out the door.
Yep.
So
I can't disagree with that.
when you take that like sentiment into consideration, every survivor perk technically punishes a killer for the killer doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah. So Okay, so the first thing that I think of is I don't think I've ever actually felt the I'm being punished for doing my job as killer until Fast Track. I
Thank the
think
Lord.
that's what pushed it over the line for me.
Right. And I think the better argument that people could be making is it feels like some perks are a punishment, like a severe punishment for the killer just kind of doing what they're supposed to. Like some of the perks do too much for the killer
Oh,
succeed.
that's
Like
actually exactly
they
what I was
swing
about
it
to
too
say.
back.
Yeah, like
It's like it pushes the pendulum too far.
yeah, I think that the argument that these people they're making an argument that they're being punished for doing their job as killer, but they're missing that every survivor perk is designed to be like that. Just the ones that they're complaining about are
Right.
doing it too much.
Right. Yeah. And it might just be my fixation. It seems like people package their complaints this way to like belittle the other role or belittle the other side. And instead of like formulating a post or a tweet or a video in a way that like invokes thought or a conversation like we're having, it's you know, all survivor perks that people use punish us for doing our job. There's no input, etc., etc. And it's like, well, I mean, not really, because when you think about it, they're all really the same, and they've been doing the same for 10 years. Like, if you were to have posted that some perks are just way too overtuned for like no input or for like a very little amount of effort, and it's all off of the back of like a hook, okay, then we can have a conversation on that, you know. But I don't know if there's really any conversation to have when people word things like that.
No,
And maybe
and I
that's
think
their
like
intention.
maybe they
I
don't
don't know.
intend it, but maybe I feel like some people do intend it because like it's just
Some do.
it's
I
a
mean, it's a Twitter thing.
yeah, it's a not even just a Twitter thing, just like us versus them gets clicks in like every
Yeah.
DBD platform.
Mm-hmm.
And
It does.
I always try my best to not be us versus them. But
Yeah, I try. I'm kind of the same, and like I would agree because I have never seen you say something to that extent, you know. And it's really one of the only things that sometimes lately, if I see on Twitter, I feel like I need to, respond to because I think it's just the wrong mindset to have. I think it doesn't create healthy discourse if you truly want like game health changes. I don't think it does anything. I would agree that fast track probably is of that category. And the issue, and like it would be unique. Obviously, I think if they would have somehow, for some reason, said every hyper focus that's in the trial has diminishing returns on player builds to the point where like if there's 4 of them, its effectiveness total is maybe like 25 or 30%. It would probably be fine. So I think it's just a matter of like that perk specifically being overtuned. I think if one person is using it, I don't know that people would really complain that much.
yeah, I also think
But it's
that
when it's stacked with like 4 people where it's like probably a lose-lose situation.
yeah, like I also think that it would be hyperfocus would be I think more fun and balanced if they removed the synergy with stakeout by I don't know, like they did the whole like perk rewording thing. Like maybe they could
Yeah,
make a
yeah.
wording that's like hyperfocus is for normal skill checks.
Right.
And
Yeah, no,
I mean I've
I
run it by
s-
itself before. It's pretty fun. Like it actually makes it kind
Yeah,
of
I
fun
mean,
to sit on a gen. Like I've
yeah.
gotten up to 6 before. It's really hard though.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think I've only used it a handful of times, period, and I don't even know if I've gotten up to 6. I would probably agree. Those are like a few things like hyperfocus with stakeout because I saw a tweet today in regards to that. That and fast track. It's interesting that people are still bitching about fast track when it's already been confirmed like over a week ago or something that it's being nerfed.
Yeah, and if
I don't know why
DBD
it's
wasn't on
still
console, it would already be nerfed.
exactly. I don't know why. I think there's definitely something to be said about how people just want to bitch about something that even though it's conveyed to the community that something is getting nerfed and it's basically being brought back down to what it originally was, which is kind of just a meme perk. I don't know why people still feel the need to constantly use that as like their championing reason to why Survivor is like broken OP. It's just so silly to me.
Well,
I
okay,
don't.
so let me make a statement here that's like, I don't think this
Mhm.
is exactly related to our topics, but maybe a reason
Fine.
why people act like that. Would you agree or disagree with the fact that, like, interactions with the other side, particularly like bad ones in Dead by Daylight, would you say that they feel more personal and targeted to you than other games? Like, it's something that I've thought of, like, because of all my history playing other games. Like, let's say if I was like in an Overwatch tournament back when I was like in tournaments for Overwatch, I didn't feel personally attacked when the other team was pushing the payload, right? But
Right.
if I get like DS'd into Dead Hard into Shoulder the Burden in Dead by Daylight, there's not like a this is how the game is supposed to be set by the devs. So in Dead by Daylight, there's like this inherent feeling of like, do they really need to be doing all that? Like, I'm the pig. it
I
feels it feels personal for some reason. Maybe that's why people. I feel like that's a root cause why people on both sides get so mad at this game.
It very well could be. People feel like somebody maybe just playing the game is a personal attack onto them. Is kind of what you're saying.
Not necessarily that it is, but maybe that it like feels that way because of how
Yeah,
the
no,
game
yeah,
is set
that's what
up.
I
Yeah.
mean. Like people feel the way that like a match or a chase or a combo of things that's happening to them is played out. They feel like like the feeling that they experience is like, is this a personal attack? Like, is this towards me? Just um, I know I've probably felt that way. Well, see, the thing is, I would say yes, of course I felt this way because I mean I play Survivor and I've been like I have been like there have been games where people look at me the entire game and only chase me while they literally lose all their generators. And
Yeah.
then they'll
Same.
hump me when the last generator gets done, even though they kill me. And then they'll go in end game chat and be like, "I won, you died. I won, you died. I don't care." Like
Oh
I
yeah, that happens to me
like
too.
I guess to me, I don't know if that's a good qualifier or a good example because like to me, like as a content creator too, like I've been stream sniped. To me it's fun. Like I still, if a killer I can tell gets flustered and wants me out of a game and is like BMing me, I like it's fun for me.
Yeah, I'm
You know?
100% with you there. Like
It's fun for me. Now I think maybe experiencing, God, I don't know, because it's hard because like I have so many hours, so like I kind of just have learned to brush this stuff off. But I could totally see somebody who's newer, or somebody who doesn't play this game in front of a camera for like a living, feeling the way you feel, and it might even be something that people might feel more from the killer side. Because when like the stars kind of do align, or those perks happen and the gens go flying, or like there was one game I always remember some time back where I'm like, okay guys, I just want to experiment. I don't know how long ago this was. I'm like, let's just go in. I was swiffing. I'm like, let's just see how fast we can do it, like do the gens. And it was basically a baby huntress. I think they hit like 2 hatchets. The match lasted 4 minutes. And they probably felt that way, but thankfully I was like, they were PC, and I was like, yeah, we're so sorry. Like I just literally wanted to see how fast it was. I'm sure that game was fucking horrible for you.
I will admit that I've done the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think
back with like one of the old teams that I played on just for fun.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to just like see what is possible. I think obviously the issue is when people do that, and that is their fun from a day-to-day basis, because that's just weird to me. But I know what you're saying. And I probably felt it. Nowadays, though, you can't, like, if you play something as much as, like, we do, or if you make money off of it, and you're trying to entertain a chat, you really can't take that stuff personal. You can't.
Yeah,
You
and
just can't.
I don't.
You'll be
like,
so burnt out.
when I was new and I wasn't a streamer, maybe, because, like, when you're brand new, the game's trying to figure out where you are, and you end up running into a lot of like 4-man sabo teams. I feel like
Right.
there's a lot of people out there who their entire fun is like de-ranking into where the new killers are and then just torturing them.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard not to take that personally when you're brand new.
Yeah.
But now that I have like 4,500 hours and background in competitive, it's more like, yep, that's just how the game is. And
Yeah.
I guess I would say that the only frustration that I have in DBD right now is in situations where I feel like I have no options. And on Survivor, that comes with like aura reading nurse and Like Momo
Yeah.
7th Blight, and I have solo queue
Yeah.
teammates that have like never
Yeah.
played against him
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
On Killer, that comes with, all right, I'm playing my main, the artist, beat my B tier killer that I love, and I've got the 4 tuxedo aces from the DBD League ladder. They're all running DHGS Shoulder the Burden.
Right. Yeah. It. Yeah. Like, yeah, like there are just sometimes, and if you're in a Swift, you could probably make the argument that you have a lot more control over your games for sure, and like most of the elements that are out of people's control will be the killer in that situation when they're playing against a Swift. But I say if people do a fair bit of solo queue, there's a lot of that on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I do. This is kind of maybe somewhere. Maybe we'll disagree. If we do, we can talk about it. I guess if we don't, then it's kind of a moot point. But a lot of arguments I see about like sort of these elements that are out of your control. Killer, a lot of people will say, oh well, if you're a survivor, a lot of your pain points are going to be your teammates' decisions, and like not what the killer's doing, not what they're choosing, not what they have going on. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like there's maybe, I guess like a lot of people will always just default to, oh, if you're playing solo and you're having a miserable time, it's because your teammates suck. Do you feel that way?
I mean, it definitely
I think
exists.
it's a part of
like,
it.
Yeah, it's definitely part of it, but it's also the killer. It's always going to have a component of being the killer, or maybe the map, or that kind of thing.
Right.
Like if I have bad solo queue teammates, that doesn't change the fact that the killer is playing 6 perk school.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we kind of agree on that. Like, it's not just the simple answer of.
I guess like, what was I gonna say? Like there are a lot of things that, as somebody who plays more killer, that I think are just extremely corny from the killer side. Like things like 6 perks ghoul, like killers that just stack 4 chase perks to just smash their face into pallets and remove every single interaction of skill and fun.
Yes. Yes. Legion. That's like the most popular build on Legion. I'm not really. I'm sorry. I'm not apologetic that he's kill switch right now.
Neither am I.
It's
been great.
You may not agree with this, but like, to me, it's like we already have Ghoul. Okay, I don't need to like go from Ghoul, Blight to then Legion. Let's just throw that out of the equation, because like Legion and Ghoul to me are almost the same. Not same strength, but like the thing that I get annoyed with is almost the same thing. So
they both have a really easy to hit first injury.
Yeah. I
mean, like,
and then like it's not even just for it's different with Ghoul, but for Legion it was always he gets the free hit, and then it's the predictability of what comes next. There's either 2 paths he takes. Either he leaves you and tries to take as many people as possible, and then the onus is on your teammates to play well, or B, he ends his power right away, and then he has 3 or 4 chase perks, and then you have to pre-drop. There's no mind gaming there. There's no like, oh my god, what if he has a no, he's gonna play one of 2 ways. It's just which way is it?
Exactly. That is like my least favorite thing on Survivor. And there are certain killer mains out there that are like, well, Legion is bad or Legion is weak, so you're not allowed to hate him. And then you're like, something doesn't have to be strong to be ass to play against.
Yes, I have made this case so many times because people will say, like, I have a buddy who loves Ghoul, and people will always say the same thing, where it's like, Ghoul's nerf, Ghoul's this is nerf, this is blah blah blah. Like the Ghoul hate is, so it's like, me personally, man, as long as his first hit is always gonna be kind of like a, not necessary, auto aim I think is the wrong word, but if he can look at me from mid map and he's guaranteed a hit, and it's going to steal a health state, I'm never going to enjoy him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Principle.
I mean,
I just don't like it. For me, if I feel like, even if you have, like, I will always say he has one of the lowest skill floors, even though he has a high skill ceiling. I can respect the cool shit and the cutoffs and stuff that people can do, but if I'm always starting that interaction injured for free beyond my say so, I'm never going to enjoy it.
So I agree with you that he's probably the strongest killer with the lowest skill floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I personally find him really fun to play against, especially when they're not running 6 perks ghoul or chase perks and they're like doing cutoffs and stuff. Like I like to play ghoul. I try to do that when I play him, and I never run centipede or mask because they're corny.
Yeah.
And it's like he still does have auto aim, but it's at a point now where I think it's a 20th of a second that he has auto aim for now.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that at 0, but I think it's a lot better than it was.
Yeah. I mean, side note, do you think, because I actually saw a ghoul propose this, what if his initial cling onto you could never injure you?
Oh, wait a second.
Until, like...
I've actually got the king of ghoul cutoffs himself in my chat right now, Benork, and he said it's actually bugged to be a 10th of a second right now, the auto aim.
Oh, so it lasts like twice as long as it's supposed to?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 0.05, but it's actually 0.2.
I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why it's... Because there is... What's funny is I'm like, I thought they were supposed to remove the stickiness of his, like, I don't know, like his fang cursor, you know, his fang reticle, from like being, for allowing to like hit survivors that are still around solid objects. I know there's always going to be an element of like ping, but is that tied to like that auto aim?
I think I know how that works. It's not necessarily tied to the auto aim. So the auto aim is the ability to trigger the grab. Once he triggers the grab, he flies toward the survivor and then stops a certain distance away from the survivor. If there is terrain between him and the survivor that he hits before he reaches that distance where the bite happens, it breaks and he doesn't bite them.
Okay. Okay, so if it wasn't bugged, you'd probably notice it a fair bit more.
Yeah, I would say so.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, one change that I saw that I think a ghoul player actually had proposed is to remove the injury on bite, and I thought it would be kind of cool. Maybe you buff his kit elsewhere, but if it was just like an infection where like his first 2 bites onto you didn't injure you, but the third one thereon after would, and there was no way to remove that. It's kind of just like you're slowly getting infected by him over time to the point where it always injures you. So then that way, you can't have Lethal Pursuer fly across the map, chomp a survivor, and then start getting, free injuries every single time you see somebody pop up on your screen.
Yeah,
you can tell I'm probably pretty biased, but...
Yeah, I've never actually seen that proposed. The change that I usually want to happen, because Benork is in my chat, he's the one who championed this, is to just completely remove all instances of vaulting from the kit.
Ooh, I would like that. I have to ask myself, would that be enough for me to be okay with probably. I mean, I actually like the mind game of controlling and holding the pallet and playing around what you see visually to not allow
to
them
vault back on him.
I like that, but sometimes it feels like it's really difficult because I don't know if it has to do with how fast he can melee if he drops his power, or how fast he can bring his power back up, maybe? Because, sometimes he can drop his power, bring it back up, and vault over anyway. I don't...
Okay, so here's a proposal about the bite. How would you feel about it if, instead of flying to the survivor and injuring them, he could grab the survivor and then kind of land a little bit behind them to, go for an M1, but, not to the point where it's free.
And then it doesn't...
He could pull himself to a survivor, but the survivor is still in chase. They're not injured yet.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that, it's a really important, thematic thing for Tokyo Ghoul that he's able to, grab a survivor and fly to them.
Sure. That's totally fine. I think that friction point for me... And part of it might be... some of the similar reason I hate Nurse is, when you fatigue and you don't really have control of your camera... and you're kind of looking down, it's the reason I can't play Nurse. I don't like, as Survivor, not being able to move and, have to look at an animation that, also steals my health state that I had no input over. It's, just that whole piece, that whole friction point of, I have zero control. it was free, it took a health state, and now I have to spend time to mend. It's like all these little things that kind of compound. But I mean, I wouldn't have any issue with that. I don't care, because then it's about placement, right? It's about like, oh, as long as I can get close enough to a window or a pallet, when I expect or see him start flying towards me, I have a chance to avoid losing a health state. I would have no issue with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I think we agree there.
For me and some people, I think it is just clearly the free hit. I don't like that concept.
And I think there's like or what would you say, like, if I told you that, like, the first impression of a killer hitting live, they never really escape that. I think that
no,
original Skull Merchant, I think, was the first example of that. And
no,
I think
Legion.
Oh yeah, you're right, because I didn't have the
Legion.
game then.
This is why it's so. You're 100% correct, because Legion, in my mind, I will probably never enjoy playing against him. I don't hate him, but I don't enjoy. I hated rework Skull Merchant more than I did Legion, but Legion could moonwalk down you. That was a thing that would happen. He could just spam his frenzy multiple times and you would just die. Frank's mixtape literally meant you could never escape. Like, that sort of miss on behavior's part, in terms of like, oh my god, we overlooked all these things. I think there is a case to be made that sometimes a killer will never leave that camp of like, we hate him because of what he came out as.
Yeah, I think
for sure,
to some extent, that's going to continue to happen with Ghoul, just because his auto aim was egregious on release.
Yeah. No, I think so. For me, like, it's toned down over the years in terms of like me hating Legion's design, as opposed, now where it's just like, he's not fun for me.
He's like, just kind of boring.
It's been like 10 years. Yeah, no, he's pretty boring. Skull Merchant would be the more egregious example, because I don't know how anyone in their right mind could say, oh, Skull Merchant had counterplay. All you had to do was like run away or like stand still. It's like, did you ever play against it? Like, I don't know how you're saying this right now. Like, it promoted the most asinine survivor gameplay that people would also bitch about. Because, like, a lot of times it's like, okay, she puts down a drone. You're forced to run away to a different loop, because if you sit there, you get every sort of debuff in the game.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget that she's now 10% hasted, and I can't tell.
Exactly. And then it's like, if you actually make it to another tile, the same thing just happens. The drone goes down and you have to do it again. And then, half the time people would be like, oh, well, no wonder you're dying, because you're not playing the tile. I can't.
Yeah, you can't.
I will die.
Because now she's going to 10% hinder you while she's 10% hasted.
Exactly. And it's like, the thing was, people would make the argument that, well, she still loses gens, or it takes her time. I think the problem that a lot of people that like chase and want to interact with a killer have is, if it's sort of the same thing that killers have an issue with like survivor perks doing too much for no input. It's like, if I have almost no option as survivor and I have to do this one thing, and the killer knows this, they can also kind of play around that one thing that they know I have to do to make it less effective. And it's like, I don't care if I'm escaping or if I care. It's like, if my interaction 1v1 with the killer makes me feel like none of my inputs are meaningful, it's never going to be fun.
I think we see that a lot today with Clown.
Yes.
Is he that strong? Not really.
When he was super buffed.
But
he kind of was when he. To me, it's more so Myers now.
That's also true.
It's
like he just
pre-drop every pallet. You can't play around.
You
the
have
pallet
to.
PS2
yeah.
3. You have to, and that's one of the things that I bring up in terms of like pre-dropping and fillers that have changed with maps. It's kind of like a forced play style that's been put upon us. But
yeah, and like all of the killers that I find the most fun on Survivor like have variety and skillful interaction in their chase.
Mm-hmm.
And these
100%.
Killers don't. Like it's you pre-drop or you die.
Right. Okay, so let's maybe we can try and butt heads. I don't know if we still want to talk about
Oh yeah, well then
perks, not
then
players.
let's talk about the slugging meta then.
I might agree with you to some extent. We'll see. This might be a short combo, but yeah. Where would you want to start?
I guess I'll just like summarize what I think. think the balance of the game right now has gotten to a point where something like 80+% of the strongest effects on Survivor come from either being hooked or unhooked.
Okay.
And I think when they changed Fast Track, I think that pushed it over a line to the point where killers are more incentivized to leave people on the ground than they are to hook. Because something that feels bad in Dead by Daylight is when something kills you or gets you injured or makes you lose a chase on killer that you could not have known was there. Like let's say your teammate's in chase first on Survivor, then the killer comes to you, you instantly get killed by End Fury Hubris. Like,
oh yeah,
that sucks. And then like on the killer side, let's say that like, I don't know, you down somebody on a pallet and then there's clearly somebody nearby for a pallet save, right? So you go to chase them, right? And you push them off, you hit them, they run back to the person that you downed and use Wiglif MFT on them.
Sure.
Like, it's a lose-lose situation. You could not have known that those things were in play, and now everything sucks. I think interactions like that are really bad on both sides, or at least they feel bad.
Okay.
Not necessarily that they are bad for the game as a whole. I think they're like a big pain point. And I think certain things like the buff of Fast Track and then like the general base kit buffs to Survivor over time, combined with certain content creators pushing out the idea of like stacking the strongest possible builds with no rules, I think that's kind of created an environment where more and more people are feeling like it's not worth it to engage with the normal gameplay loop if they want to win.
Okay. First point to that, I don't recall if you had said the word meta.
I didn't, but I like effectively did, I guess.
Okay, so when you were talking about how like some of the most strongest perks on Survivor,
yeah, that means
essentially meta. Right. So okay, so do you think that the reason why that build is probably really effective is because it hasn't been used widely enough yet for long enough for people to adapt their meta to the opposite, the anti-slugging? Like, do you feel like there would almost be a strong enough counter to what you're doing if people shifted their build to some of the stronger like slug perks?
I don't think that
do you think it'd still be effective?
Yeah,
More effective.
I think the slugging playstyle would still be just as strong as it is now if every Survivor was running like Wiglif MFT.
I'm not even I'm talking about like Conviction Wiglif MFT plot twist. Because Conviction plot twist would make that playstyle, it would make you have to change how you play that individual match.
Yeah, I've had people plot twists and then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I guess I do have to pick them up.
Right.
But I think that like playing against that on a slugging build, if you're playing a killer that's strong enough to like actually be able to consistently go for slugging, I think playing against that is still like less harmful to the killer than playing against like the hook-based builds and like actually hooking.
I mean, and that might be true. I mean, I could never really make an argument in terms of like which one is actually. I mean, essentially, you're exploiting the weakness of survive. Part of it is exploiting the weakness of like what people are choosing to run for the current meta, and then part of it is just. Well, yeah, part of it is just exploiting the current weakness of like the meta and how strong some of those perks are. Do you think like, would you make the same case if two things changed? Fast Track got changed or reverted to its original form or changed to what it's going to, and then Hyper Focus and Fast Track didn't stack? Do you still think that statement would hold true? That there would still then be way too many powerful perks that benefit Survivor off of you hooking? Or would you say it's maybe a lot closer to even?
I would say that it would go closer to even, but I would still say that slugging is better.
Would be more okay.
And
Now,
it's because of stacked things like let's see, like 70-second hook stages, or 70-second hook
Okay.
stages, like shoulder the burden. Babysitter is one that nobody really talks about. Like, I feel like I'm like the biggest hater of babysitter. I like. Have you seen like the survivor?
Lasts a long time, dude.
Yeah, and you're
I
running
know.
faster than the killer with no scratch marks, and I've never really like used it in a situation where the killer's chasing me, but I've gotten it before, and I'm like running across the map to somebody else or to a gen, and I'm like, is this speed buff ever gonna fucking run out? Like, I just have this for so long. No, it's crazy. Scenario here, like you know how like Otofu does his like survivor win streaks with his teams. I run into them often, right? And whenever I know it's him in lobby, even though they're on Anon mode, and I'm like, all right, I can't wait to challenge myself here. I know this is gonna be really hard. And I had a game where like I chased Albie first, and I was like, okay, I have to tunnel because I know these guys are insane players. And I actually had 2 really good chases with Albie, and he was like complimenting me on his stream, and they were like, oh no, are they gonna lose? I went to go kick a gen away from the hook. Tofu unhooks him with babysitter like in 5 seconds, and I just lose instantly.
Yeah, because he got so far away that you couldn't. What killer were you playing? Were you playing Ghoul?
Artist.
Or Artist. Yeah, she's... that's tough. She literally has no mobility.
And I guess maybe this goes to something that I was going to talk about later, that like a lot of my balance complaints only validly exist in those like 5% of games where both teams are trying really hard to win.
Well, thank you for admitting that. A lot of people wouldn't, but I think a lot of people also aren't probably your level of skill and experience.
Yeah, like I will never need to tunnel to beat Timmy, who just got home from school, like, and is playing solo queue. Like, I think if you...
And I think...
Yeah.
I think that's the issue that exists in this game in balancing is... You will admit it, and some others will too, that the majority... Like, if you are a skilled player and you are playing to win on the killer side and you have a strong build, you will never need to do the things that survivors hate, like obsessive slugging or straight out tunneling, Russian teching is like some people call it, to beat probably 90% of the teams you play against, even if you have a high MMR. The problem exists is like there's nothing stopping anyone from doing that to anyone they play against. And once it's advertised that it, because of comp and because of tournaments, that it is the most effective strat in most cases, it just opens a floodgate. And we're kind of in this, like, how do you, because you can only put in so many protections into Survivor until it feels like true hand-holding.
Yep.
But you also, like, behavior also wants to protect people from not being able to play the game, because that doesn't feel good. And I don't think that concept is really talked about enough, about how it's not really needed, but that it's also overdone, and like it's really hard to keep it from happening so you can like actually have a player base that wants to play and grow your game without the side that it's being told no to, i.e. the killers, without them being upset.
Yeah, and I think
it's the major balance. That's the true balancing act. It's not like the perks and the powers and all this stuff necessarily. It's how do you keep both sides happy without feeling like the other side is being babied.
That's true.
And I don't know if they're ever going to be able to.
And I feel like, I'm guilty of like loading into games and slugging people when I probably didn't need to. And the reason why is it probably comes from my personal mindset for playing the game. Like, when it's hard to judge what kind of game you're going to get in Dead by Daylight. Like, you can have a really fast first chase and then be like, all right, I want to chill this game. I want to chill this game because this person wasn't doing very well, and I feel like this is kind of a chill lobby. And then, bam, game is over because all of the other 3 survivors were like extremely sweaty, and you let off, and that feels really bad. And then like sometimes I'll look at a lobby, honestly, and say like, okay, these people look pretty good. I'd better lock in. And then you'll see at the end they all had meme builds.
That's the randomness of DBD. And like, if like if you play it, like, we brought up, gen rushing just to see if we could before. It's like, because they were PC, I wanted to make sure, like, hey, I kind of feel bad, this isn't how I normally play, blah 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 blah. Like, I do think there is a level of empathy that both sides should probably have. I've never been a fan of like the whole concept of, oh, I should never have to care about you having fun. Like, yeah, you don't have to, but I mean, if you want to be part of a community, and like, especially if you're a content creator, it's like having empathy shows like you're human. And I think there's a certain amount of that like you can afford to your opponent even in this game. I'm not saying you should like have to baby people, but I'm the same way as you. If I play killer and I like cross map somebody who clearly isn't paying attention or is clearly new, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna like tunnel them out, even though I could. I'm gonna like go see how the game goes, take my other chases. If I run into them again and I need some pressure, maybe, I'll get my easy, whatever, my easy hook. But I mean, I can respect that. Like, you choose as a killer player probably more times than not to be like proactive with your decisions, because you never know what the team's going to do, and you never know how good they're going to be or how hard they're going to push or what perks they have, as opposed to somebody who might be like, well, I'll play this way if this happens. Sometimes that might be too late.
Yep.
You might not be able to pull the game back. Like, that's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think like a lot of it stems from, in my personal philosophy, the worst feeling in DVD is, I probably could have won that if I had actually tried, or if I had not brought a meme build.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does suck. The thing that I like to see is, like, it was your choice, A lot of people... I feel probably more people that... Or people... How can I phrase this? I feel you're probably more level-headed, where you probably realize when a game is played out, like, you probably go through the thought process of, like, what could I have done differently, or what should I have done, and then, it's like, okay, well, I should have done this, but would I have had this information, and you're at least conscious of the decisions that you made, that you could have made a different one. Yep. As opposed to just, like, blaming perks, or blaming, something beyond your control. Not that you shouldn't look at that, but like, your first thought, I assume, is probably like, where did I mess up? Or, oh my god, I really messed up that chase so many times.
Yeah, like my first thought is usually to like, okay, so what caused that? Sometimes it's me like specifically messing up in one chase. Sometimes it's because I walked like 25 meters away from the hook, and then somebody sprint bursted in and used shoulder the burden.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we kind of agree. I mean, and like I said, I would kind of agree with you that there probably are more things currently that are beneficial to killers hooking than there are. Well, see, it's hard, right? Because like, if I were to expand on this, and let's say I tried to, maybe this is, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate where I'll just choose a side that's like antithesis to yours.
Mm-hmm.
You think that there's more beneficial perks that are more powerful for hooking than there are slugging. And even if they nerfed like hyper focus, stakeout, and fast track, that slugging would still probably be like a stronger consideration. Have you ever thought about the fact that like shoulder the burden does have downsides? Not saying it necessarily creates still an even state in the game. Like, it obviously removes the effectiveness of your tunnel out option, but it doesn't take away what you did. Like,
no, it doesn't take away what I did, but it
like
it
you
shifts
still have pressure, and it shifts it. Obviously, fast track, there's really nothing to say. Like, there's just only value there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about stuff like shoulder the burden specifically, and compare it to other things like, conviction plot twist, when people use these or use unbreakable, I guess if you use unbreakable, you can only use that once. I'm trying to, because what I was getting at is some of these perks that are different than like shoulder, you're not really like necessarily trading anything on survivor. You're just getting value, and the killer is left with nothing. Whereas like at least the killer still has the same number of hook states when shoulder the burden is used. And I guess that was gonna kind of be my only point, but
Okay.
it's so hard to probably like come to a definitive, conclusion because it's all based on like the context of the match and how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think to get to like the heart of why I hate Shoulder the Burden and why shifting a hook stage is just like it's not enough of a downside, I guess, is that it's the fact that the importance in a game where both sides are trying really hard to win, I think it's nearly impossible for the killer to leave 4 survivors alive with like more than like until like the game is like down to the end.
I
And
always
Shoulder
say
the
if a
Burden is
killer-
like a flat 70 plus seconds to that objective, that side objective.
In the higher level games, you're saying.
Yeah, in the higher level games. Like
Okay.
if
Yeah.
I'm using Shoulder the Burden on my solo queue teammate against Momo 7th, it's going to be the least problematic perk in the world.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if I can intellectually segue that. So you said for like essentially higher MMR situations, like most of the games, like that stuff, it doesn't really matter. So do you think it kind of goes back to like, does comp have too much influence over like the game as a whole? I don't even know how to talk about that, to be honest, because it's like, it's also one of my issues is like how much, because you kind of talked universally where it's like, oh, it's a necessary, because like I have your tweet pulled up specifically. Let me see here. Slugging will continue to be necessary. I guess you did say against good survivors in the current state of the game. Do you think it kind of comes down to MMR? Do you think it's healthy just in general that a lot of players are kind of pushed to adopt a certain playstyle or like build that they don't need to use 95% of their games? 90% of the games, 80, depending on how good they are? Like, do you think that's healthy for the game as a whole? Or do you think that's part of the reason why it's also pushed the game into a really skewed, competitive environment?
That's a really interesting question.
It's like, it's totally within your right, and like, I'm never going to tell people how to play.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's also the disconnect, is I don't think survivors, due to the nature of the role, have the same sort of goals that like killer players do. And that's where like a huge disconnect is. Is like you will have people like yourself, and I'm not digging at you, because you do it at least in, a sensible, articulative way where you specify certain things. But it's kind of like, I've seen Ots do this too in like some videos sometimes, and it's like people will leave out certain things where it's like, oh, if you're playing against like these people, or like if you want a build that'll will be fine against average new survivors as well as like really strong teams, this is the build you can use. It feels like killer's really the unique role where a lot of things are being packaged and advertised as to play this as a catch-all, do this, strongest, this is how you win. Whereas like survivors are out here like, I mean, most of them are just playing, chit-chatting with their homies, asking them how their day was, and it's like, how do you bridge that medium? Is there a way to?
I don't know if there is a way to, just because of the asymmetrical game.
Right. And like, I think a lot of people thought MMR was going to be the answer. I just don't, like, I don't know that there is a level of, like, you'd almost have to have a forced queue. Because, some people will say, oh, just have a competitive queue.
Yep.
What's to stop somebody from going into normals with 10,000 hours and running the same build that they would in a competitive match? What's to stop that? Now you need to have,
there's
like,
nothing to stop that. But I can give you the anecdotal evidence that as somebody who's competitive minded, if they added a ranked queue and it was well done, I would just disappear from the casual queue forever and never come back.
Yeah, no, a lot of people would do the same.
Yep.
Yeah, for
well,
sure.
unless I got unless I got gift subs and forcing me to play Chase Hag, then yeah, of course.
even if your queues, like, what's the threshold for your queues? Do you think? Like, how long would you be able to tolerate queues? Do you think 10 minutes?
I
That'd be
used to
too much?
wait. I used to wait 10 to 15 minutes in queue to play top 500 Overwatch. So.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the main pain point, and I think it's a really hard thing to have a conversation about because I don't think there's necessarily an answer. I think it would just be nice, and I think that maybe like our debate. I wish I could express this in Twitter in like less than 100 words or less than 50 so people could understand that while, yes, you may run into death squads that are gen rushing gens and they get them done in like 3 or 4 minutes, the bulk of the players, it seems like, that play Survivor just don't care that much about escaping as like some people think they do. Whereas like I do think more killers care about their performance in killers or kills than like proportionally survivors, if that makes sense. That was kind of word vomit, but
No, I think I totally understand what you mean. I think like when you play killer, I feel like the game kind of railroads you into caring the most about kills. Like you don't want to get like the entity displeased thing at the end that tells you that you lost. And the other thing is like on killer, it feels much more like you're only relying on yourself and your performance.
yes, yeah, because I mean you are.
And on Survivor, I feel like the elements out of your control on Survivor are much more prominent to the point where like it creates a mindset where you're more like, okay, whatever happens. Like I might just randomly die, and that's okay because Survivor has like, I feel like Survivor has more fun and silly things that you can do without compromising your like entire reason for being in the game. Like,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because like if you want to do a killer meme build, I mean, you have to fully commit.
Yep.
And like half the time, some like let's say it's Basement Bubba or Chess Bubba, it hinges on the survivors participating in your game. And if they choose not to, then like you have nothing to show for it. Like nothing. You didn't get any kills. You didn't get any hooks. They didn't play your game. They didn't touch your chest. They just left. It's like, okay. I definitely would say, like, yeah, just the nature of the game, like, killer is the more serious role, for sure. Let's talk about something maybe we'll disagree with, to a huge degree. We'll see. Like, I don't know, are we fighting enough? Probably not, but
I don't think we have to.
No. You referenced hand holding, and you referenced a couple things, the longer hook stages, 15-second endurance. I don't know if you base kit. I guess you didn't specify everything.
Oh yeah, I mean I could tell you like right now like what I think has been prominent hand holding on Survivor.
Sure, yeah. Give me a list. I'm curious.
Okay, so 15 seconds of endurance in endgame is like makes it nearly impossible. Like it's just you just walk out the door unless you're like all the way across the map from the door. And because there's two doors, that makes it extremely difficult. Yeah, so I think that's Survivor hand holding, and then I think that also 70-second hook stages is a huge one, but it's one that you rarely actually get hurt by on killer because the vast majority of survivors don't even understand how to use it. But the ones that do, man, is it unbalanced. And again, that's like the thing about like
good players.
Are you playing against those 5% of good players who know how to draw all of the potential out of the mechanics of the game?
Right. Okay. Do you think killer has hand-holding elements or hand-holding elements that have been brought into the game? Do you think it exists for the other side?
Now,
6-2.
Do you think like are you talking like perks or base kit mechanics or specific killers or just everything?
I guess it'd probably be more so. Well, I guess I would say. I guess I would just say everything.
Okay.
Like you were able to point out things that are like kind of hand-holdy for survivors.
Okay. So
obviously,
I guess,
like, but yeah.
Let me attack this from the perspective that like survivor's objective is to escape, right? So I would say that survivor's objective is to escape, and hand-holding things on survivor are things that make it significantly easier to escape. The killer's job is to down survivors and kill them. So I would say that hand-holding on killer comes in the form of things that make those interactions where you're downing and killing survivors like brainless and skillless.
Okay.
And then I would come back to End Fury, Dissolution, Bamboozle,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
Crowd Control, Blood Favor. I think those things are killer handholding, personally.
Okay. 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 What do you think about?
Were you going to say something about regression perks?
No, I was actually gonna say how I'll phrase this in maybe a not a fiery way, but how behavior handheld killers as a whole and walked them to a higher kill rate percentage that they wanted to see via the major 6.1 change and then some of the changes thereon.
Okay, yeah, 6.1.0. I was playing the game for that, so I do remember it. That was like the massive perk rework where they like killed Dead Hard for distance and stuff like that, right?
Correct, and then made a bunch of baseline killer buffs that people would argue with me day in and day out that actually didn't buff killer, and it was somehow that patch was a survivor buff, which...
If I remember correctly, the baseline killer buffs from that patch were increased kicking speeds, right?
Increased
or were there
kicking
more?
speeds, survivor... There were more. Increased kicking speeds, they got a base kit about 2 stacks of stabiffle on their
Right,
melees.
okay, I remember that now.
Survivors didn't run as far after getting hit, and Bloodlust technically 2 and 3 kick in faster.
Okay, yeah.
And the regression event on gens.
Yeah,
Because I would argue, like, I understand... See, the problem is if you phrase it from a survivor's job is to, like, survive and these things, like, kind of just give them the survival, you can't really have that linear argument on killer because it's like, well, yeah, their job is to kill. But I would say a lot of those changes back then were just, like, to just arbitrarily make killer stronger. Which I feel is like a version of hand-holding, or at least like hand-held them forward, you know, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of them pushing killers in the back without them really noticing, because all of those things, if you take them one at a time, you might not really notice them.
Right.
But yeah, I think that would fit the definition of, like, sort of being hand-holding. But I think like the hard definition of hand-holding that I subscribe to on the killer side, it's got to be those uninteractive chase perks.
Okay.
And I think you haven't said this, but I still want to address it. Like people that have been debating me, like in my TikTok comments and on Twitter, they say that, oh, Pain Resonance and Deadman Switch are killer hand-holding. And I don't think that's true because those things don't directly contribute to you downing survivors. They give you more time to down survivors in a skillful way.
So this is kind of what I was trying to say. This is how it's a little bit... I think the handholds are going to present themselves a little bit differently. Because, like, when you're downing a survivor and you're killing them, that's already a pretty big detriment. Like, the effect has already, like, happened because their life has been shortened and, you know, you have a limited amount of health states. Like, some of the things, like some of the perks that might result from you downing and hooking them some of them can be insanely strong. Like, to me, the 50-second DMS was insanely stupid.
No, that was ridiculous.
Just looking at, I would say, and that existed for, like, wasn't it a few years, a couple years? Like, I don't know if that perk ever really got nerfed until recently. But, like, I think you have to look at, like, some of those handholds a little bit differently from survivor versus killer when you cross that line, just because of the nature of, like, what's going on. In my mind, I guess, like, and that's why I phrased my question the way I did in the beginning, is I feel like killer does every now and then get their hand grabbed and, like, pushed toward, and I think that's fine in some cases, because behavior said we want killers to have like a higher kill rate percentage, and like these are things that they did to like push them into that avenue. Um, if I were to be like a little loose and a little spicy and say, I would say probably the passive slowdown perks, like the passive regression perks that don't really require you to do much other than what you're normally doing, could be seen as handholds. And I think that's what people on TikTok are trying to say, but I just don't think they're very articulate. I had this issue more, and like I love Spook and Jukes, I have no issue with him, but I had this issue. I didn't like his fucking content when I first saw his YouTube videos because he would be face camping with Bubba when there was no
Oh, I remember that.
anti
Yeah.
camp mechanic, and all of his perks. And I'm like, I know what this is gonna do. All his perks were passive slowdowns. You had your corrupt intervention, which just did its thing in the beginning. You had
Yep.
deadlock, which would just slow the game down. Like, yes, I understand. Like, you can play around deadlock, and sometimes it's not. But obviously, that requires a team to be playing together and have a brain. But like, he exploited the fact that like he could have perks that just do their thing, and you don't have to interact with anything in the game, and it'll slow the game down long enough for you to kill that person before the last gen pops, so then you can at least get another kill. I think that's what maybe some people have issue with, where it's like the regression perks have definitely gotten a lot more streamlined and maybe brain dead over the past few years. And I think that is a constraint to the game because there's only so much you can do. But eventually, that's kind of what people fucking gravitate towards. You have like pain res. Well, I mean, you're gonna hook a survivor when you down them typically, anyways, right? Maybe you have to go slightly out of your way for the hook. Maybe you don't. Nothing else was really done to get that necessarily. Then you have, like Grim Embrace or DMS. Well, you're gonna leave the hook anyway, aren't you? Like, yeah, it just kind of does its thing. You have deadlock. Well, if gens get done, they get blocked. Like, Killer has a lot of options now that eliminate their need to necessarily focus the gen itself and then just play their game of chasing survivors.
Okay,
And
so
I think that's the issue that people have, but they just can't articulate that argument.
yeah, and I think personally, I draw the line on killer perk balance where what did you do to activate the positive effect? Deadlock, I think, is a stupid design. What did the killer do to get that? Absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. You lost the game to get the benefit. Noed, you lost the game and now you're getting a big benefit. Pain resonance, you got it down. I think like you actually did something. Pop goes the weasel. You have to get a hook, and then you need to have good game sense for where they're doing a gen. And
Right,
then
but you
like,
have to walk up to the gen and kick it. Like, it requires a time investment to get the regression, whereas like pain res, it doesn't. Granted, it's now limited. Old pain res was really an issue. I think this version of pain res is probably fine, but
okay, well here's a hot take, just for the sake of it being a hot take. So like you remember like original pain res, right?
oh yes,
If
I
you
remember that meta.
remove the loud noise notification, remove the scream, so the killer doesn't get any information about which gen got hit, do you think old pain res then would be fine today?
No.
What was it, like 15%? I think
So I don't know. It was 25, I think.
it was. Wait, it was 25 infinitely on release. I thought it was 15.
I'd have to go back and look. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know. I think it was more.
Okay, I swear it was like 15.
Can somebody in chat confirm that? Was it always 15?
And then they buffed the percentage like when they changed it to a token system.
Well, okay, so maybe it wasn't 25. But okay, so what are the changes to it?
Okay,
If you
so
got rid
like
of the loud noise
yeah,
and the notification.
no loud noise notification that tells you what gen it hit. No scream either. It's just a hook
No,
survivor
okay.
get 15%.
You used to get 25% unlimited on every hook on a Scourge hook, and the Scourge hook didn't change.
Oh,
so
wow,
what people
okay.
would do, because I played during this meta, the Deathslinger, there was no anti-camp. Deathslinger would force a trade at hook so easily, and then he would just re-hook the same person there and get pop. He never had to leave the area.
Okay,
It
so
was the most brain-dead linear gameplay that had almost zero counterplay.
yeah, that's not good. When I got the game, they must have already nerfed it. the
I
percentage.
think they did, because I think that was the problem. OG pain res was awful. It was almost, in my opinion, as bad as Cobb Eruption. Oh, 15 on release. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
mistaken. 15 on release, unlimited. The Scourge hook stayed where it was,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you could get it 3 times per survivor. I don't think it would be okay with that, personally.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I don't know. It's because I think the reason why it probably wouldn't is because you're getting too much of your goal, like you can get too much of your goal for like a kind of a cheese strat. Like if you are regressing a gen across the map or the most progressed gen, and you get to pressure the hook at the same time and like kind of get trades, I don't think, because there's too many killers that can just come in from outside the anti-camp zone and just get a trade, you know, or push people away. Ghoul's one of them. Ghoul is probably like one of the best ones. Blight, Nurse, even Bubba can do it. I mean, that anti-camp zone isn't very big.
Yeah, that's true. All right. How about I present my most survivor-sided opinion?
Okay.
I
Sure.
don't think Dead Hard should be tied to hook states.
I
I
don't
think you shouldn't
necessarily either.
I don't think you should have it in your first chase when you haven't been hooked. But I think like if you're on first or second hook, if you have the skill to hit it and it makes the killer leave you and you recover your exhaustion, you should be able to have it again. I think Dead Hard is in the best place it's been like ever.
Like its current iteration.
Yeah, but it could be better even. Like I think
Yeah.
like a half a second of endurance, it's really fun to play around.
What's funny is I thought about this earlier, the fact that, because everyone's complaining about Sprint Burst, I'm like, it is kind of funny you can only use Dead Hard twice and it's a maybe, but you can use Sprint Burst an unlimited amount of times. Like, Dead Hard probably should get a buff to some extent, because I don't even know how easy it is to put the killer in a position where they have to swing at you at a pallet.
I've thought about this. I've thought about this a lot. It's a very specific distance where like the killer has to swing at a very specific time. It's only when they're like in lunge range and the survivor is going to be able to stun them with a pallet if they don't lunge.
Right. No, I think it'd be cool. I think it's funny because I think Dead Hard turned into one of the most brainless perks to like almost an expression of skill or fun or mind game. Like I always see the clips of people like spinning in front of the killer and then like emoting and then getting the Dead Hard off when they swing. Like, obviously they probably died 100 times, but I think it's actually an interesting perk now. As somebody who always plays on like 50 to 70 ping, I don't think I can use it. Like, I'm a background player, sprint burst rat. I just never get my Dead Hards off anymore.
Oh yeah, I actually made a Steam group called Suburban Moms Against Sprint Burst. Because
you don't like sprint burst.
No,
we
hate it in my chat because I don't like perks that encourage not interacting with the other side. And like the optimal way to use Sprint Burst is to just run away and not interact with the killer for as long as humanly possible before you have to start chase.
Yeah, I agree. But do you think that it's perfectly a fine perk when you're talking about Ghoul, Blight, Nurse, Hillbilly? Because the distance you make up is almost negated instantly?
Yes. Yes, I think against those killers that are insanely mobile, strong exhaustion perks are necessary. But they totally break the game against like the more or the immobile killers.
And until they like I think the first step, sadly, they'd have to do it all at once, but I've talked about this. It's like you can't change this instead of this. You can't like realistically, if killer players want a lot of perks like Sprint Burst to be toned down because it's way too strong against like C tier and below, I think you would at the same time at least need to bring all the top tiers down. The people that are hypermobile. You would just have to. Because if they can already deal with some of those things already and perform really well and get win streaks of like 2,000 plus, yes, I know it's like one person, but I'm saying if that is an option, like if that is, people are capable of doing that, you can't leave Survivor in a state for too long where they are not brought down with those power level of perks. I think that is an all at the same time or just never at all.
Yeah, I can agree
Like,
with that. And I think there was something that I was like workshopping today to balance like perk builds, because a lot of the frustration that I talked about before when you're playing against those really strong teams who are rare, but then they stack 4x DH DS shoulder the burden on you and you can't do anything. I was workshopping this idea earlier about a point system for perks.
yeah, that's
Where
something I've heard a lot.
every perk would be assigned a number 1 to 4, and you would have 10 slots, or you would have 10 points maximum in your build on killer and survivors. Like, so let's say I wanted to make a killer build. If I want to have Pain Res Deadman Switch, those are both 4-point perks. So now the only two perks I can take, the only other two perks I can take are going to be weaker, because I would hit the maximum of 10. Like Survivor, if you want to have both Dead Hard and DS, your other two perks are going to have to be a little bit weaker.
Sure.
And it would be a massive balancing endeavor and take so much time at behavior, and I frankly don't trust them to actually do it correctly.
You know what's funny? I was going to ask you, and what's the main issue with that that no one ever really talks about is exactly what you said. You leave it up to behavior to determine the balancing of all that. And then it's just going to be people disagreeing with their decisions and arguing over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And like it does suck because it sometimes it feels like a cop out that it's just like, oh well, you know, it's up to behavior, it's kind of up to them, trusting behavior. And that's why, like, especially, and maybe like part of me is sort of burnt out with some of it, because like I haven't been as active on Twitter in like a couple years, because it's the same conversations over and over, and eventually it always devolves into, well, you can't really balance it, it'll take too long, too many components, the code can't work. It's like I kind of just get to the point, it's like I'm just gonna play whatever game, like however they want to design it, I'm just gonna play it. Like I think it's unfortunate, but I think with DBD for the most part, if you aren't happy with the way the game is, I do think you kind of just have to go play a different game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, probably true of like
Kote said
all
it
games,
best,
but
right?
like, who did? Yeah. His quote. Yeah. Like, we're kind of just at the mercy of the game, the way they see the game and they want to make it. I do think some things are kind of unhealthy overall, and they can make better decisions, but like there's always going to be people on the other side that think opposite of what I do.
Yeah, and like the way that I like talk about things and discuss things, I'm never gonna like quit Dead by Daylight because of something that they did or because of some balance issue.
No.
It all comes from like, I think the game could be better and more consistently fun if they did this, or like this is kind of hurting my enjoyment of the game right now, but I'm not gonna drop it because I still love Dead by Daylight.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. People are surprised. I think some people probably think that I cope, that I'm actually having fun playing DBD, because like sometimes I will just crash out for like 10 solo queue games in a row. But I don't know, like sometimes that it being difficult for me because of my teammates, or because I play on NA East and I play Blight, Ghoul, Blight, like sometimes that friction point is fun for me because I don't like things to be easy.
Yeah, and it's
like
funny that you mentioned the server, because I feel like our server is it's Blight Ghoul, Blight Ghoul, and then Michael Myers, and Fury, Legion and Fury, Michael Myers and Fury.
It is.
There's no in between.
Dude, I was so happy because I used to, like, I would still see Huntress players. Dude, they're extinct for me. I never see them anymore. And I'm not even kidding. Like, half the time if I see a Huntress player in, like, one of my 100 games, they'll be running Eerie Head. Like, they just don't know what they're doing. And, I mean, you know, the other point that I get upset about is, like, I'll be sad when I see a Bubba, but they have Bamboozle. It's like, okay. It's like, fine. Yeah, our server is really interesting. I do have can do some spicy question. Do you think the survivor or the killer role is more entitled?
Oh, that's a good question. And my first thought would be, in what way, and how do we define entitlement? Because like I'm a big definitions guy because I'm a lawyer.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. I was going to ask you to answer that question just on your overall feeling with no more context.
Oh, okay. Then if that's the constraint, then I will just do that.
Okay. Who is it?
Oh, this is going to be such a boring answer. but I feel like it has to be survivors because there's more of
Uh,
them in the game. But
yeah, I
that's like
feel
a cop out answer. So let me do a different one.
Sure. You can answer whatever you want. It was just how you feel.
Yeah, I would say that there are entitlements on both sides. I feel like on the survivor side, the entitlements come more from wanting the killer to change the way they play to benefit the survivors. And on the
I would
killer
agree.
side, it comes more from the entitlement comes from expecting the survivors to adhere to some imaginary balancing rules that the killer has.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily how the survivors are playing, because everybody,
Sure.
I think everybody accepts that the survivors need to do gens and escape.
Yes.
But I think on the killer entitlement comes from expecting survivors not to bring strong builds.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing for me is that, yep, I'm going to complain about shoulder the burden. But what happens when I switch to survivor? I'm running shoulder the burden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
because it is in the game, it's strong.
Yeah.
I want to win regardless of which side I'm on, so I try not to be a hypocrite.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. I'll give my take. I think it's killers by far, and I don't think it's a comparison. I'll explain. It's kind of funny. I'll say what one of my viewers said. It said, no, killers are entitled to 4Ks and they're flabbergasted when they lose or have to work hard for it. I share a small sentiment with that. Like, obviously, I'm playing it up a little bit. But I will say it's killers, and the reason that I say this is I feel like because survivors are like the more casual people, and I think like even half the time if they're swifting, I mean, I think it's more so like you said, you nailed it on the head. They are entitled to a certain like play style, or like people to respect their time, or to allow them to like play the match. Like a lot of killers will, or a lot of survivors will say stuff like, I just want to play the match. I don't want to be held hostage. Like some of them don't care necessarily about being entitled to like escaping. It's more so just like, I want to play the game, as opposed to like feeling constantly pressured the whole time. They want this, the killer to go chase somebody else. I don't even really see that much complaining me personally about like really necessarily killer builds anymore. It might be like the newest hens build that people are sick of seeing,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's more so
The
the
German
killer
man will
powers
pay.
in the play style. Yeah, I know. Whereas like when it's the killer having complaints and like feeling a sense of entitlement, it feels like to me, and this is why I say they're more entitled, it feels like they expect behavior themselves to do something about the game without necessarily realizing why the game is in the state it's in.
Do you think that comes from behavior outright saying that killer is the power role?
Maybe, possibly, and that was going to be one of my other questions: is which side do you think is the power role? I think killer's the power role, and I think that's fine. I don't think when you say is one side the power role versus the other, you can say, oh well, a four-man swift that's trying hardest to escape is the most strong. That's not necessarily, in my opinion, that's not what a power role means. I think the power role is the one whose influence, like whose decision making has like the most influence. They're always active. And like killers, I think can set the pacing for the game a little bit easier than survivors, just sort of.
Yeah, I agree
But
with you
maybe.
there. Like, I think the only time that the power role ever shifts is when you have, like, Otofu's competitive win streak team, and stronger than
Sure.
that, like, up to, like, the Invictus escape streak.
But
those guys
what was the-
guys are the power role. Like, but that's
what
like,
was the
that's like
Invictus
1% of
escape
games.
streak go to?
Like, well, I think, like, 200 to 250, I think, was
And what's
their highest
Momo's
one
gone
recently.
to?
Yep. Almost 2,000.
So how do you?
I think
so
the way that
how do you, so how do you? Okay, so how do you rectify that? Because you just said that, like, at that level, you feel it's like the survivor's the power role. How do you rectify that difference in wins?
I think you rationalize it by the imbalance of the player numbers on both sides, and the amount of, okay, so let's say, like, when you have both sides playing in a game, they're each affecting all sorts of different variables in the map. When the survivors are significantly stronger than the killer, and they're actually working together, the decisions that they're making are affecting, I guess I would say they're affecting the game state more because the survivors are coordinated. Whereas if you have 4 really good solo queue survivors against Momo's 7th, those survivors aren't affecting the game as heavily because they don't have the communication aspect, even if they're really good. So I would say, like, because of the absence of coordination in most survivor games, I think that's where the killer side, if they're like sweating and win streaking, is going to get up into the thousands. It's because of the variance of like whether you're playing against coordinated survivors or not.
Okay. So from, I guess this is kind of an easy answer, but when you're looking at the individual survivor and the choices that they can make and the perks they can bring versus the killer taking the team away, the killer's always going to be the power role in that scenario, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like if you have 3 solo queue survivors with you and you're making the correct decisions in chase that give you a long chase on survivor, you are creating value for your team. But unless you have a strong coordinated team with you that's in the background telling you, hey, don't bring chase here, I'm on this gen, he's on this gen, he's on this gen, everybody is doing a gen. In solo queue, you don't have that. You have Meg Thomas doing a dull totem.
Right. So do you think UI, the changes to the UI are like versions of hand holding, or do you think they're actually kind of healthy for the game overall because
I think they are technically hand holding, but they're healthy and amazing because solo queue is always the most painful role.
Cool. Sure. No.
I think like I think like being opposed to helping solo queue is like it's like running for office on like a platform of like killing puppies. Yeah,
it's just, dude, I've been trying to do this Survivor Gauntlet that Zerb's put out. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I have sort of seen it, and it looks absolutely insane.
And I can't ditch my, like, I will be at, like, win 13 out of 20 for, like, my second checkpoint, and I will literally throw my life away for a fucking random instead of just leaving, or, like, ratting with a key. Like, I can't bring myself to play the necessary way, I feel like, in order to, like, finish the gauntlet, because
that's why I can't do survivor win streaks either, because I unconsciously go to save people when I technically shouldn't. Like, the playstyle of, like, ratting with a key is so boring.
It is extremely boring. Extremely. Okay, so those are the 2 questions I was going to ask. Power role and which side is more entitled.
Okay, wait, so about the whole thing with like which is like the power role, like at the peak possible level of like both teams are tournament level players and they have no rules on their build. I think survivors are always going to be on top, and we saw that in the game that Momo lost his streak on, with him getting sniped by other comp players that all had brand new parts and shoulder the burden. And he just had no chance.
I mean, comp overall, I think, is almost always balanced to give the killer a better advantage. I mean, I will always agree. Like, the way that I always saw this like totem polar pyramid is at the bottom you have solo queue.
Yep.
2 mans, and then like maybe 3 mans are equal with killer overall, and then like 4 mans are on top. So killer's kind of like right near the top, around the 3-man swift with a random, and then everything else is just like specific scenarios, just context.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about posting one of those pyramids recently, and the way I had it was there were 4 tiers. There's solo queue at the bottom, then second tier was like various killer and survivor players who are like trying to win, and like they might be duo, they might be a swift that's like playing for fun, or you might have a killer that has a competitive mindset and wants to tunnel. Then the second to the top is win streaking killers, and then the top of the top is like competitive win streaking survivors.
Sure, yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's more or less the same thing, just taking out the context of like win streaking, but yeah, playing to win, doing anything they can. No, I would agree. I think that's been like that for a long time. So like, yeah, like you said, or like we kind of more or less said without saying, like determining the power roll just really depends on your definition of power roll. Um, I guess for now or for the sake of the argument, I thought it was 'cause it's something I hadn't thought about was to define the power roll more as like which side is sort of like has some influence, but also like very demanding on how they want the game to be made towards like their desires and their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the way that the game is as a whole, like if you have a full group, like if both sides are doing the things that they need to do to want to win, and that would include four-man Swift with comms, like yeah, Survivor is going to beat out Killer majority of the time, probably, even if they're probably playing Nurse. If you like take equal skill into consideration.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, like, for
and I think it
survivors
probably
to be on
has to be
top
that
here,
way.
for survivors to be on top here, like, we got to be talking about things that happen in like 0.1% of solo queue games, like dying in the right spot, a concept that is like completely foreign to 99% of players. Like, if you simply just like take your chase edge map and then die all the way far
Yeah.
away from all the gens that are being worked against Nurse, she might as well be Pig.
Yeah.
But like
I
nobody
mean, yeah,
knows that.
people have found the easiest ways to exploit the weakness in the game design, regardless of killer power. You know, that's just, yeah, and that's what kind of comp is sometimes.
Hmm.
It's kind of cool to see people like outplay or like do crazy plays that the killer wouldn't expect because maybe they expect a comp survivor just to play very linear. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say for the most part we probably agree on that. Um, is there any random question that you've thought of or like I'm still trying to like create spice or get us to like disagree on things, but I think when we start like defining terms or coming to some acceptance of, differences, like the agreements are kind of always there.
Yeah. Let me think for a second.
Or if my chat has anything.
Yeah, my chat too. Like, if you guys have any questions that are interesting that you want to
Spicy
ask either of
questions.
us.
Spicy points of contention. Um
Do you think it's harmful for the game, like in general, to go into matches that the way that I do, expecting that I'm going to be playing against the strongest stuff?
Oh. It's hard because I think I teeter-totter on this a little bit. Because, yes and no. It's so hard for me to answer that question. Like, if the majority of Survivor players are casual, and I think most of them probably are, and they just and like deep down most of them just want to like play out a game, maybe take a chase, do a gen, go for a save, regardless of whether or not they live or not. Maybe save one of their teammates, get them out the door, 3 of them die. If the majority of people fall into that category, which I'm going to just assume maybe they do.
Yeah,
I think
I would agree with that.
I would say that the game itself is always going to be a little bit unhealthy to them where it's at now because killer, unless they can understand and have some sentiment towards killer players, and if people can understand that the killer role is different and it's a different game, I think they'll be fine. I think the issue is I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with you playing the way you want to play for the game's health. I think it might be on us as content creators sometimes to like let survivors know that each role is its own unique individual game, and just because somebody's playing a certain way, that doesn't mean it's a personal attack, kind of like you sort of alluded to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And that one of the things that I do with I talk about this to my friends who have been longtime viewers. They'll be like, I'm getting tunneled, and I'm like, the killer has 4 hooks total. There are 2 gens left. They need a kill. That's gonna happen. Expect it. Like that's just par for the course, you know. So it's hard because I understand you and why some people play way more aggressive than you do, and I understand streaking because people make a living off of it.
Yeah, and
But is it unhealthy? Probably. But like, I don't expect killers to go into a match arbitrarily, like giving each survivor a 2-minute chase and playing as fair as they can. I just don't expect that.
yeah, I
But
think that's unrealistic.
it is, and I think it eventually kind of boils down to behavior, kind of like crafting the game in a way where they can appease both sides, which is just going to be very hard.
Yep, because
I used to,
both sides are going to have outliers that kind of
Yeah.
break the immersion.
right. And some of it might just boil down to, like I said, behavior's balance, and it's like maybe make slugs recover 10% faster base or something, and maybe make gens take another 5 seconds base. Maybe make those two changes, see how it goes. I mean, but yeah, it's weird because I want to say no, and you can play how you want, and what I just said, but also part of me wants to say yes. I think it's unhealthy. I think having the mindset in DBD specifically to like want to go in and win as often as you can isn't what the game was designed for, and I think that in and of itself is unhealthy. I think you have every right to do it, but I don't think it's healthy for the community and the player base.
Okay, yeah, and I think
That might be a better
thinking about
statement.
how the game released, I would agree with you, but I would say
Yeah.
that it's changed, and now
It has.
I would say that now it's like we talked about before. It's shifted to be more competitive, and that
Correct.
wanting to win the majority of your games is now. I would say healthy, but at the very least less unhealthy than it was before. Because like if you loaded into 2016 DVD and wanted to win every single game, then your games would be like 30 seconds.
Right. Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll come back to this. I want to see. I think somebody had a point. Maybe. Let me see. If only we had some raw data to reference, give us some indication of which side is the power role in an objective sense, instead of focusing on SEAL Team 6 squads. Very niche. Jay's kind of a shit starter, and I told him he could start shit if he wanted. So, just reading some of the comments to see if there's any. You think devs are even thinking about change? And do you think killers are evolving due to all the time, all the time. I think behavior is doing a better job of listening to the community.
Oh yeah,
but
they're also
sometimes listening to the community isn't always the best.
they're thinking they are thinking a lot about reducing. They're thinking a lot about reducing pain points, like from killers to
Yeah,
survivors. I
for
think
sure.
you can clearly tell that because they released Dracula, who can hold Hellfire at hook, and then they released Henry, who has a 6-second buffer on his power if he uses their hooks.
Yes. I think that's a great I think that's great for him. That's perfect. If they could find every way, like I'm still surprised Bubba can rev his chainsaw at hook, like at the beginning of the game. Then again, he's not Henry. But I'm surprised they haven't gone into more of a hardline approach in terms of like mitigating powers at hook. You know, like
Yeah.
longer time charge on.
Well,
chainsaw.
and they're inconsistent about it too because they
Correct.
release like what they Pyramid Head can hit off hook instantly, but then they release Artist, and I can't use a bird within 10 meters of any hook. Interesting question here from my chat. This is from Just Mara. Do you think survivors should be punished for playing selfishly? Like as a survivor main, I feel like I'm complaining more about my teammates than killers that are slugging or tunneling.
That's me. That's me recently. The question is, how do you fairly punish your teammates who's playing wrong? Because you have to take into consideration that they knew that there was a better play. Like, what if it's a new player? What if it's a mispress of a button?
Yeah,
I mean,
or
if they're
like,
not,
what if
like,
the killer
'cause-
has an aura reading perk and your teammate
Right,
knows but you don't?
I think maybe the best example that person could maybe give, or like that I see, is I know from my experience that a game is winnable at a certain point, but you will see survivors give up and hide early. That's like, I don't know how you correct that. That is like, that's an experience thing. That's a learned threshold. Or it's like, another one is like people just not going for hooks fast enough. I don't know how you punish them in a fair way, you know? I mean, I guess you could have like indicators pop up. Like if somebody's been on hook for like 40 seconds and no one's heading in that direction, maybe you could have something on the UI light up to help them. But I don't know if punishments for playing selfishly. Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird because like I'm a Survivor player and I don't like when they do it. I just don't know how you do it. I I feel
Yeah,
like
it's
behavior's
hard.
handcuffed.
Like you could use the UI, like have like a you could.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things they could do, like
you
have
can do
like a
something.
flashing indicator that hey,
Yeah,
this person is
but
halfway through their
then
hook stage, or even change the background
correct.
music of the game. Like
Yeah.
you notice how like there's
Yes.
like a different track when you're injured versus when you're slugged
Yes. Yep.
versus when you're on
Yep.
hook. Like you could have like a stressful music start to play when somebody's
You
going to
could.
go second. I don't know. Maybe that
The
would like
the
subconsciously help people.
the question is, am I going to have to see 100 Twitter posts about how Survivor got another UI buff? Like,
I just it's indefensible to complain about solo queue UI buffs.
I mean, it's true. And like
Yeah.
realistically, I think we're at a point where like a lot of these changes, we are coming to the acceptance that it doesn't help comp or like high level players who are already communicating anyway, because they can communicate faster and preemptively. That a UI is almost useless for them. It
Yeah,
just
I mean,
doesn't do anything.
if solo queue players get handheld to the point where I'm having hard games against them, good. They
I
deserve
mean,
it.
you're already playing competitively, like
Yeah.
most times. So what? I mean, oh, perfect. Now then, maybe they can bring some of the power level of perks overall down. Like, that's why. I mean, I used to go back and forth, well, sometimes with like True Talent back in the day, and he would always complain about these new things being added to the UI, and I'm just like, it doesn't affect your squads that are already amazing. Like it's only going to bring up the bottom level of people and give them like a baseline of in-game communication, which every other game has.
Yeah, like
Every
DVD Mobile
game.
had a ping wheel.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I'm going for
weird
the
that
unhook,
people
or I'm gonna do
it's
this gen.
it's the same sort of sentiment where people were like, "Oh, well, DBD doesn't have built-in voice chat, so voice chat should be considered cheating." Do you realize there's like a whole back-end voiceover protocol like system you have to put into a game to allow that to happen, and then you have to have some sort of like monitoring and reporting feature? Like it's just because they didn't put in voice chat in game, half of it sucks anyways. It doesn't mean that it's not like it's not sensible. It's perfectly fine. Okay, this one's a pretty good one. Do you think killers are getting outdated as new killers are released that have more mobility? 100%. I have something I've always talked about is DBD is a very simple game. There's only so many things you can do. And I think I've always kind of looked at killer powers as like good for chase, mobility, and then some sort of tracking typically. Most killers don't have tracking aside from like Doctor and maybe like, Demo, Xenomorph with like their portals. But like chase and mobility are like two of the strongest things that a killer can have. If they have, A S tier both, they're probably an A S tier killer. I feel like behavior started coming out with mobility with like really good chase that left survivors little counterplay with like blight. That was kind of the turning point. And then it felt like every killer after they started to experiment or include mobility or mobility as like a chase power too, where their like mobility could kill you and catch up to you and they could get their power back. And I think they started to just explore more specifically with anti-loop. And
Yeah,
like
I
when I
think
say anti-loop, I think of Blight, Nemesis, Xenomorph,
things that anything that removes the effectiveness of like the general structures for Survivor is
right,
anti-loop.
yeah. Where you have to consider like the height of things, animation lock is super important, timing of pallets is where you can't just throw a pallet and it's now, like if you throw it at the wrong time, you get hit over it. Anti-loop has become so popular in terms of like killer powers, and I don't like the way behavior implements it, unfortunately, because I don't think there's enough reaction window. I think it's a combination of things. I don't think there's enough reaction window for survivors to counterplay it consistently. I think the cooldown on some of them is way too short. I don't think there's enough sound indicators to even let you know with like the maybe 0.25 seconds you have that they're going to use their power. Some of that is like audio issues with looking at the killer or not. And the counterplay to some of it, like let's say Xenomorph specifically, the fact that you need 2 turrets to kick him out of crawler mode, I think is just so fucking stupid. I don't like
I am
Xenomorph.
not a fan of playing against Xenomorph. I think it's very boring.
It pushes you into, okay, I got to put 2 turrets far enough away from the gen because they get deactivated because his whole
They get deactivated when he comes out.
And then if it has too much line of sight and he knows it's there, he can hit it. Or it's like, and if he has his tail power and he knows what he's doing, I just feel like I either have to pre-drop a pallet or I never drop it. I just gotta keep running.
Like, and then again with Xenomorph, not very strong. It takes
why am I being hindered?
It takes him a while to like deal with those. You get time bought. Like even if you have 1 turret and he doesn't get kicked out of crawler mode, you get time bought. But does it feel good? Not really.
No, not really. Like when the killer's anti-loop power feels inevitable, and it feels like no decision you can make. It feels like a version of Nurse, where it's up to Nurse to miss her attack. It's not really necessarily up to you to dodge it. If they're good enough, like Nemesis's whip, not that I have any, like I love Nemesis, but like the power itself feels like it's too strong for the lack of mobility he has. It feels like everything has been like a balance of mobility and anti-chase, and the killers who are like overtuned have way too high both. It feels like they have a tough time maybe finding that center point where there's like enough feedback and interaction and counterplay from the survivor that isn't exploitable to the point where their power becomes useless.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say is, what is the most well-designed anti-loop killer for both sides in Chase?
Anti-loop killer. Well, okay, so what killers would fall into that category? Nemo, Xeno, Blight?
Yeah, I would say like, I mean, any killer whose power can be used to down somebody at a loop, like without like breaking the pallet and M1.
Bro, Huntress. Off the top of my head, maybe Huntress or Hillbilly.
Hillbilly, yeah, I definitely agree. Now, my chat is full of artist players, so they're saying artist right now. But I am the first person to say that she is public enemy #1 for.
Are you kidding me? Her power literally says don't play the loop.
Yeah.
Like you put your bird up at a pallet whether it's down or up. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. There are artist players where it's like I can kind of, but they're bad. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, so most of them are bad because she's like 0.5% pick rate.
Yeah, if you play artist efficiently, you can either always zone the survivor into an M1 or to a bird hit at almost every tile. It feels like.
And
so it's Skull Muncher all over again.
As
Put
the
bird
artist,
down, leave loop.
As the artist fanatic, I can tell you that the good artists do not run the add-on that gives you aura near idle crows. So the counterplay there that is like never mentioned in the game and extremely obtuse to figure out is to hold forward through the crow that would damage you, specifically when she's out of line of sight of you, because her mind game is like, okay, when is the survivor going to be in front of it?
Yeah, no, I do that. That's like the only counterplay I think that I've ever noticed from her is running into the bird when she can't see you.
Yeah.
Because if I try and like fake like pause my movement to see if
it works
she'll
sometimes.
Early, it works against bad artist players.
Well, it works against me sometimes too.
Expect you to do it. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm being very like survivor here, bad, good, but like realistically, her power still. It doesn't feel like there's a correct choice. There's just a like 50-50 choice.
Actually, even though she's like my entire content now, when I was new to the first year that I played DBD, she was my most hated killer, and I almost considered disconnecting against her when I was like in my first few months of Survivor.
And the thing is, I don't really mind her at all, because I've realized it's really hard to counterplay her at loops if she's good, but like she has no mobility.
Yeah.
So the good ones, I can kind of take advantage of that and like play the mind game of, will I hold W or won't I? You know, are you going to keep following me? Or are you going to put a bird down and then switch it up? I don't really mind it, and I can respect a good artist player. And then like the shotgun doubling up birds from across the map, that'll take some of my teammates by surprise. It's kind of cool to see those elements. I don't mind playing against her, but I don't think her power is like the most balanced on both sides.
Yeah,
for, like,
I would
anti-loop.
agree with you there. I think like, okay, so if I was gonna list healthily designed anti-loop killers, I would go Hillbilly, Wesker, Dracula,
Wesker's a good one. It took him a while.
and then
Ooh, Dracula.
I would say Dracula because he's got like a half Wesker power and then also like also sort of a Pyramid Head thing, but the reason why I don't hate Hellfire is because holy cow, he gets slowed down so much if he cancels it. So it's really hard for him to
Yeah.
M2 fake.
I actually just take issue with his dog more than anything.
Okay.
Because the thing that I think most people exploit with that is
His height.
they pull out dog on his height. And it becomes, if you aren't at the pallet when he pulls out his dog, controlling the pallet in the 50-50, he's probably going to get a hit on you. Like, if you go for a stun on his dog, he's probably going to hit you if you can't see him. Like, it's just,
Yeah, that makes
it's just
sense.
how he works.
Well, I think
And,
like,
good.
Another reason why I think he's like super well designed is because I love variety in the chase on Survivor. Like you're
No, yeah,
constantly
same.
switching up what you're doing against him. Like bat form, like okay, now I'm playing against a spirit phase, and then he switches to the Hellfire, and I'm dodging a ranged attack. I think that kind of thing is really fun.
I think maybe he would be, like, I think I tried to make the case to people. I tried to see where they positioned him. I think he's like top 3 best killers.
I would
A
say
lot
top
of people wouldn't
5.
put him that high. Yeah, a lot of people say 5.
Yeah,
But I feel like he's better than Spirit.
he's definitely better than Spirit. I think the main reason why you don't
So,
see him
Nurse
more is
Blight
because he's way more punishing to be bad at. Dracula is.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Where would you put
Nurse
number 3 and
Blight.
4?
Nurse, Blight, and then I would say. Hold on, let me pull up a list.
Dracula,
Let me
man.
pull up a list of killers.
It's Dracula. Is Dracula better than Ghoul?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, Gould is still technically an M1. Like he's got to hit you with his basic attack, so he's always going to be prone to like really good loopers. Okay, so Nurse, Blight, and I would say it goes Nurse, Blight, Hillbilly, then Dracula.
Ooh, Hellbilly.
I think Billy just has a higher ceiling than Dracula. Like,
I would agree.
but it's close because Dracula doesn't get as killed by maps as Billy.
No, and like hitboxes. I mean, his dog. You care about hitboxes, but yeah, I'd say Billy is way more skill dependent. Like you need to have a certain minimum threshold on Hillbilly that I think is much easier to achieve on Ghoul or on Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if they severely limited his bat form, like if he couldn't teleport to vaults, I don't think he would be nearly as good. I think that's one of the best things about him.
I think a lot of his strength against
between
good
levels
players,
is huge.
not only does it come from the teleport on the bat form, it's also his window blocking add-on.
Yeah, yes, that too. Yeah. Are you happy that they changed that whole like wording and like you can't block windows with bamboozle by using like killer powers?
I think
like,
that's
okay.
great
Yeah.
because
I said that needed to be changed for so long.
It
was so stupid.
it opens up more opportunities for them to actually specifically balance certain perks that they couldn't before, and that's also why I was the biggest hater of like haste stacking, and I like fell to my knees crying in a Walmart parking lot when they went back on cutting haste stacking. Because I think there's nothing worse in this game than playing against like 125% speed clown. Like even he's committing his entire build to it, all the gens are done, but like you didn't get to play.
No. I mean it removes like it takes all the friction of chase and mind games and throws it out the window and it becomes rush the motors or you will die. You will just die.
Yeah, like I wanted to see haste stacking go so badly. And so many people were complaining about it, saying like, "Oh, Behavior wants to kill my wholesome Chungus build." I was like, "Your wholesome Chungus build is like so ass to play against." Like, what are you doing? You're not protecting the gens.
Yeah.
All you're doing is making one person unable to play chase.
And I think that boils down to people like to turn their brain off, and people like when things go fast. I think that's why people love Ghoul and love Blight. They just people always gravitate towards like builds and things in games that are just fast, and I understand why. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think
There's like a
like
dopamine level.
part of the reason why mobility killers are so popular is because people want to minimize their downtime between chases.
Yeah, yeah. From like a mechanical standpoint, I would agree. Yeah. I want to go back to a question that somebody asked me, and maybe you can provide some insight. Why is getting a 4K so important? If you want to be so competitive in this, okay, this Jay, I told Jay he could say things in ways.
Oh yeah,
that
of
are
course.
like, if you want to be so competitive in a non-competitive game, then why don't you play in a hyper-controlled competitive space exclusively? Stay out of public matches. Okay, so I guess for you, I guess if I were to phrase it, I'd be like, if you're a competitive player and you like playing against people that are equally competitive to yourself, what do you get from DBD like pub matches where you're playing to win that like you can't get from say playing Overwatch or a different game or a shooter or just like scrimming or playing in, obviously you can't play in tournaments all the time, but
Yeah. So, okay, so I guess I'll start by saying that the reason why I stopped playing competitive was because I just didn't have time anymore. It's a massive time investment compared to playing in pubs, where I was studying for the bar exam, doing law school exams, and then having a kid is just not possible to hop on Discord and scrim for 3 hours with like a bunch of other people.
yeah.
So that's kind of why I dropped off of doing that. And then I guess the reason why DBD is more... So this is going to be like reaching deep into the reason why I play DBD at all. Is because I'm 27 years old. And although I loved being competitive and at the top of more competitive games like Overwatch, when you get older and have less time to practice at gaming, your reflexes get lower. You can't keep up with the 15-year-old with an Adderall prescription playing Widowmaker in Overwatch. And Dead by Daylight presents itself as like a game where knowledge is king. There aren't a lot of Twitch reactions, and there's like an almost infinite amount of things that you can like dedicate yourself to getting better at without having to deal with some kid with an Adderall prescription that like one-shots you in the head. And that's kind of why I picked up Dead by Daylight at all and then began to like it.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. No, a couple of my viewers, specifically one, told me you were a very sensible person and probably be very agreeable. You're a good dude.
Oh, thanks, you too.
Which is why I was willing to have the conversation. Having conversations with some individuals in this community becomes very difficult because I can't tell if some of them are just rage baiting and some of them are, I think, so far in the weeds that they can't have empathy for like other people and what they might feel about a game.
Yeah, that makes sense. See that a lot.
It's tough, like trying to. It's kind of a common meta right now, especially with like clippers online, where it's like everything is so scripted or fake that you don't know what's real.
Yeah, and then you look at like what's the most popular content? It's all the fake scripted bully survivors destroyed.
Yeah. There's a conversation that could be had about like difference in content. But one question, I mean, depending on where you're at for time, this could be kind of like the last main idea. One thing I was gonna ask, I didn't write down, I came up with is, which role is harder? Which role, and I guess maybe, which role is harder? I want to say like I'd say probably like before you get to like the 2,000 hour mark.
Okay, so like before the 2,000 hour mark.
Yeah. Before
I
you
would
invest
say
a couple
that,
years.
I would say that I think Survivor has to be harder. There's...
Damn it, you weren't supposed to agree with me. You were supposed to say Killer.
I think once you get past the 2,000 hour mark, Killer begins to get harder. But I think Survivor is much harder to pick up because there's too many intangibles that are going to get you killed that you have no way to learn about on Survivor.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's
You
easy
literally.
to it's
Yep.
easy to load in,
Yep.
get on a gen, drop a pallet, but
Mhm.
there's too much else to learn that is just not
I
anywhere for you to learn.
yeah. I kind of thought if somebody were to have a debate about that, like I would. I think the answer is just kind of obvious, where it's like, okay, if the killer doesn't plan on playing and getting good at every killer, and they just want to focus on 1 to 3, that is so much less that you have to learn and worry about, and you can just narrow your focus to like 1 or 2 killer powers
Hmm.
and like survivor perks, how they play in tiles. Whereas like for a survivor, how many weeks can you go without seeing a twins? And then you encounter a twins, you don't even know how their power works.
Yeah,
There
like
are not only do you have to take into consideration your teammates playing together, perks on both sides, like something, like every person killer survivor has to, but like there's a bunch of killer powers that you're going to see over and over and over, and some of them you might not see for weeks, and it's
yeah,
like
and like
some of them have such unique counterplay.
even if you do see those killer powers, it's not obvious or even possible to figure out without a wiki that like how are you supposed to tell a survivor that to have a really good chase against singularity, you need
Exactly.
to understand
Exactly.
that there's an invisible
Yep.
little ball dragging behind you where he's going to come out teleporting.
Yep. Yeah. No. And you know what's funny? I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I had learned this a while ago. I'm open to learning. I thought there was a period where I just thought Singularity was so bullshit. Not when he came out, but when people started to pick him up, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, dude, he's on me all the time. I need a fucking wand to get him off of me. And then I'm like, oh, I can just vault a window or a pallet and stand still, and he can't use his power. Sick. Like, use your power and you're still on that same side of the tile.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a huge counterplay. I don't know if there's much else, but like
There's a thing that you can
that
do where
changes
like
everything.
if you pre-drop a pallet on him and then run away from it and then run back towards him, it'll force him to the wrong side of the pallet when he teleports, and then you get distance.
Right, so it's the same effect as like just
Yep.
dropping it
So
and
like you
standing
you
still.
manipulate the ball to like behind you, and then he comes out on the wrong side.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, unless you go online and search, like how many games would it take you to just randomly understand that? You
Yeah,
might never.
way too many.
Like the counterplay sometimes for most people, you need to go out and search for it, I feel like, with some of the killer powers. Whereas like if you pick up a couple killers and you're starting the game, you will learn them, and then Survivor is just like understanding their perks.
Yeah, like when I started playing, I mostly played killer, and I remember learning like, okay, so here's how survivors like to run this area of this map.
Mm-hmm.
Like when survivors have this perk that can do this, and I have to watch out for it. And I instantly I bought Slinger, like when I first started playing because I wanted a transferable skill, and I pretty much only played him for a while, and that definitely made it a lot easier because I was able to just focus on. I have this guy that shoots a gun. I aim it well, and like here's how I use it at loops. So a lot easier than like a new survivor that has to somehow know that they have to crouch a skull merchant beam, or they get two tapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm finding more and more, especially talking with you, that it's some of the loudest, probably minority, but like the loudest, most, you know, ran with tweets where it's like people just, if they would just maybe think things through or take the consideration of the other side, into mind, that maybe they wouldn't tweet what they tweet, or maybe they wouldn't think so negatively about everything
Mm-hmm.
that the game, has to offer. But
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like I try to make it clear that when I like complain about something and say that it's like unfair to killers, I'm almost always only talking about like playing against the best survivor players.
yes.
I think fast track is something that has crossed the line into it's causing bad survivors to get free escapes that they otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing in recent years that has done that.
What would you think is the most apt killer, whether it be killer power or perks version of that? Do you think there ever was? Well, I mean, because you played during Call of Brine and Eruption, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Would you say that was pretty similar?
Any eruption build against solo queue.
Yeah.
Or like
Okay.
things like, oh, okay, so wait, let me talk about this. I've like made like a YouTube short about this before, but I think there's a type of creature out there that only plays killer, right? And they don't have a main. They have no allegiance. All they play is whatever will give them the freest win on the current patch. Doesn't matter what it is. They will go from, let's say, like release. Remember release Chucky, where he would just manually scamper pallets and remove all of the interaction and chase.
Yes.
Those people were playing him. And then once Chucky got nerfed, they moved on to like whatever the next thing was, like 130% haste clown, because it shreds solo queue players with 0 interaction. Then it was release Crossu. Then it was release Ghoul.
Oh god.
Or Ghoul came first, but the like release Crossu was definitely a thing that was like instant free win for killer with no thought required.
Dude, I still like with Akrasu having dissolution. Is the counterplay, quote unquote counterplay, to run around with a flower in your hand and just hold a pallet and never give it to her? Like, what is the current counter to Krasu? Like,
yeah, if she
how
has
do you adequately
dissolution,
play around her power?
If she has dissolution, I feel like you have to try to make her use her own vault, because it got nerfed to the point where it's pretty slow now. And then you have to try to hold W to something connecting, or get to a point where you have a strong window instead of a pallet that you have to fast vault. But then like that's also not a great solution, because at the end of the day, Crossu is really poorly designed, and it comes down to having a teammate to body block for you.
Right. Yeah. So there are just certain things where I don't think there's good enough 1v1. I don't want to say counterplay, because that seems like you're just countering it, but like interaction. Like some killers just have 0 interaction to their chase power. It kind of sucks. I think that's probably where a lot of people feel frustration with some things, and like how I pointed out Ghoul before in like the first free hit. It's like when it feels like there's nothing you can do, I understand why people get really upset and why people DC.
Yeah, I've always viewed Ghoul as kind of like Nurse, I guess, when it comes to the first hit. Like where it's like, okay, I can try to hard line of sight the power, and it might work, but it probably won't, because this first hit is kind of BS.
Yeah.
Benork just came back and said, I left for an hour and we're still talking about Ghoul.
No.
We weren't talking about
Literally
Ghoul the
just
whole
came
time,
back
Benork.
for like 2 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious, like, what percentage of like Ghoul mains or Ghoul players are like sympathetic to the survivor's disdain for him. Like, if they understand. And like, yeah, like you said, some of it might be subconscious hate from like how he came out with, or how he originated. But man, like, I think there's also something to be said about how when killers are just so fast, like sometimes, you know, like, because Crossu and Ghoul, like Blight, like there's sometimes no amount of input you can have as Survivor that, like, it's just their speed. Like sometimes it's just purely their speed.
Yeah, so
I mean,
like
hence why Blight still runs double speed add-ons, even though they've been like gutted from their original version.
During the Springtrap anniversary, I made a YouTube video talking about why I think people hate Ghoul the most. And essentially what I said was that, like, he's a killer that we've never seen before, where every part of his kit combines an individual thing that survivors don't like from other killers. Because people don't like having to pre-run. Like, they don't like playing distance. Like, from, like, when, like, they hear the faraway terror radius, and they don't think that, okay, the killer's going to be on me in 1 second, right? So that, one, survivors don't like that. Two, most survivors that are inexperienced really, really, really don't like playing injured. And Ghoul reapplies injuries really easily. And then 3 is that a lot of people just want to be able to hold W and not, like, be forced to play a tile in a skillful way, because that's another one of those things on Survivor that's just never explained to you. And Ghoul and Blight force you to stay at a tile and, like, play it in a skillful manner.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, so I didn't think about that specifically, about how, like, you don't always get to choose your tile against Ghoul and Blight. Like, it's like depending on where you're at, it's like, oh, I have to play this.
Yeah,
Like,
so I think
you just have to.
I feel like Ghoul is always going to be uniquely hated because he's got the forcing you to play injured from Plague and Legion. He's got the mobility from Blight. And it's just we've never had a killer that has both of those.
True. And then like a mix of Legion in the beginning. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
No, I mean,
I got a big comment from Benork.
Uh-oh.
At least in the communities I interact with, it's pretty common for people to understand why people dislike Ghoul, but more often than not, Ghoul mains want similar things changed about him that survivors do. Big difference is a good chunk of the community treat Ghoul players like garbage, so there's no good faith conversation happening at all.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I hope people realize that, like, as a content creator, there's a certain amount of, like, shit talk or talking about the individual killer in the game that it's, like, it's never intended to be personal, but it's, like, you know, sometimes people amp it up for entertainment, or, like, sometimes people are just so frustrated and, like, fucking Ghoul players. It's, like,
Yeah.
we don't wish death to people that are actually playing the game. It's just
Yeah, like
sometimes it's in the moment, people just talking.
I get personal
and bitching.
against aura reading nurses. Like I've
That's fair.
dodged
No,
I've
that's
like
fair.
dodged Nurse Blink's edge map and I've been like, "Oh, kick the gen with nowhere to hide again. Maybe it'll work next time."
Yeah.
But
I mean, a little bit of shit talking, I think, is healthy.
yeah, and like I'll get that way too with like 6 perks Ghoul. But it's never personal outside of the game. Like
Correct.
That's a big thing. Like the only way that I'll get personal with somebody outside the game is if you're one of those people that like could be hooking people and just bleeds them all out on the ground for no reason.
Dude, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Like you do the thing.
That was every Skull Merchant player.
Yeah.
That was literally. I'm sorry.
You do the thing that I'm doing where like I want to have 4 people on the ground and then I hook them all. But then
Right.
like if you're just making them sit there for no reason at all, that's like sociopath behavior, and I'm gonna attack you out of the game for that. Like,
Yeah.
not in like a ridiculous
I fully
way,
agree.
but yeah.
No, I think it's something to be said, because it's the people that do that that will make people, when they start to see what you're doing, think you're the exact same. Their personality and the way that they act, like, because you have a similar initial play style, will rub off onto you, even though you're not at any way, shape, and form like them. That's just kind of the nature of the beast.
And that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I stuff on Dead by Daylight doesn't affect me. Like, people in my chat,
No.
I only ban people if they start, like, telling me to kill myself or break Twitch terms of service.
Exactly.
And, well, I have, what, like, 30 pages of angry Steam comments, too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I don't delete them because it's, like, fun to collect.
Yeah, it's funny. You get to go back, and it's kind of like little time capsules. Like, oh, yeah, I pissed that guy off, and he called me something and got banned. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think you have to have some amount of thick skin to play this game, period, but to also just have like an online presence like that. I had something in my mind that I was going to say, but I forgot what it was.
Honestly, I think I'm about out of ideas.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of went about how I figured. I think even on some of the more crazier topics or questions, I think I agreed more than I thought we would. But yeah, I don't know. Is there any parting question or anything?
Let's see. I guess,
I know we had talked initially about maybe playing some games during this, but obviously that would have been like impossible.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could play a couple now. Let me
I mean,
send you
I'd
my
be
Steam
down.
code. Yeah, I don't want to do a whole stream where I didn't play a single game.
Yeah, no. Actually, that might be the good segue, and then if anything random comes up, then game didn't freeze. It might have actually froze. It's been open for 5 years. So, according to our conversation, does this mean you're not going to see Jamie if I go down at a pallet?
I mean, okay, like, I can use a flashlight, but if you looked at my hard statistics,
Yeah.
I probably use them like less than 1% of the time.
Oh, Steam code you said, yeah. There, I think I sent you one.
Got it. Yep.
What was the consensus on slugging playstyle? Why would the sociopath route be worse when the end result is the same? Not
Well,
defending the
the end result isn't the same because
yeah.
the crazy person is leaving all of the survivors on the ground until their bar is 0 for no reason.
Right. Essentially winning the game and then winning more to BM the person.
Yeah, it's like
You know what I
it's
mean?
malicious BM to the survivors just because the
Right.
killer likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had a guy once who would he would stream snipe me and bleed me out. And it happened like a few times over the course of a week because even though I usually play killer, I usually play like 1 to 3 survivor games right at the beginning of stream. And this guy would be there. His like I'm not going to say his name. He's not a streamer or anything, but eventually I got him on Survivor, and I did the same thing to him. And I left a comment on his profile, and I said, "I'm like, why have you been stream sniping me and bleeding me out for no reason?" And he like started replying to me and saying, "I don't know who you are. I've never done that to anybody. You are slandering me.
Dude.
You are lying." And then I
Oh,
sent him screenshots of him doing it to me, and he blocked me.
Dude, you just can't have a conversation with those people. You just can't. Like,
Yeah.
there's just no. It's just all deny, 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 deny. It's insane. I've encountered some of those. Not okay. I understand that part, but the game is null in both circumstances. Is it more righteous the way you do it? So in my mind, it's having respect for other people's time, which I think everyone, even in a PvP game, can have, right? And if you win the game as killer, aka 4 on the floor, and let's say like, I mean, the thing is, 4 on the floor, you can just leave. But like, let's say you're bleeding somebody out, or like you slug somebody. I guess, yeah. Let me think about that. So, I mean, if it's 4 on the floor, and the game is over. The onus is also kind of on you, on Survivor, as to whether or not you want to stay, right? Because there's like, you don't lose anything by just abandoning, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, a lot of people abandon, but then there are some people that just like crawl into the corner of basement and don't abandon when they could.
Yeah. So I guess I can maybe see what this person is saying. Because, like, I mean, if a killer wants to bleed somebody out and they're all dead and they're just not leaving, then you're kind of subjecting yourself to the BM.
Yep, and that thing that happened to me before where I was getting like stream sniped and BM'd, that was before the abandon.
The abandoned feature? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so like in that case, like if we use that example of like before the abandoned feature was a thing, because it's happened to me where like the game's over. Maybe there's 3, 4, 5 gens left. One of my teammates is dead. Somebody's DC'd. The bots weren't active. And 2 of us are next to one another and the killer's just like pumping us or just standing over our body shaking his head. And we can't abandon. It's like, okay, you're doing this to like invoke a certain reaction, which is just weird because this is a game at the end of the day. That's where it's like, how about you respect everyone's like time and just go on to the next game?
Yeah, those people are really strange, and I think
Yeah.
we didn't really mention this before, but I feel like those people concentrate in whatever is like the most annoying killer at the time. I think for a really long time, a large portion of the Skull Merchant player base was only playing her because they knew that she was the most hated and they wanted to bleed people out.
Yes.
And now that she's been bad for so long, her player base has changed to where it's like it's only the people that actually like her. But for a long time, I think those people were like all playing her.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would think you'd call those people out. Let me be clear, I don't support BM. Clearly 4 on the floor is not the intended way to win the match and doesn't respect the survivor's time. I don't know. I think slugging survivors to win is fine. And like the major defense point would be survivors sometimes put themselves in that situation. Like if you're not going to be on gens and you're going to hover for saves and try and do some goober shit and you end up all dying, you shouldn't complain at all. Like there's no reason to even complain about slugging, whether the killer intended to slug you or not. You know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
From that mindset, like slugging it's perfectly fine.
You talk about killers that nobody plays.
Yeah.
Bro found the last Houndmaster on the planet. Yep, there she is. Here's one. Is bleeding someone out a different type of toxic than survivors waiting at the gate and saying, "Watch me leave"? That's a comment in my chat. I think it is. I think it's different.
I think it's different, but both are just kind of whatever to me.
Yeah, they're both like why are you doing that? But I think the bleed out thing is it's like a more prolonged malicious behavior, whereas the watch me leave is just like somebody wants the last laugh.
Right. And one thing I think people should maybe take into consideration with the watch me leave, there is a difference from somebody opening the gate, they're the last survivor and the killer's not even near them and they're just waiting for the killer to come over, as opposed to the killer is chasing survivors to the exit gate and then the survivors like make them hit them out. I think there's a fair bit of difference there. You know,
that's true.
If the killer's there and they hit you, they get points, you get points.
What exactly is going on with this Houndmaster right now, by the way? Is this like topical gameplay?
She got savoed.
Oh, okay.
So she's watching. She's bleeding me out. Actually, she's being toxic. I don't know where her intentions are. I don't know if she's waiting for the hook to come back or what.
Well, we just did the most important gen in her face. I mean, maybe crawl to Shack Pallet and I'll pick you up.
He's intending to go into the game with that playstyle. He's not being opportunistic. Yeah, so like, there are, because I've actually played against somebody else that was running the same slugging build on Unknown.
Oh, was it Vampire Toothy?
Yes, which I'm chill with Toothy, but yeah, it was Toothy, and he understood even literally before the game started that I probably wasn't gonna have fun. Like he even said it to his chat pre-game. Like he knew I probably wasn't gonna enjoy it because it is boring as a survivor to like sit around and play back and forth. Yeah.
She seems to have like a full scream build, and I'm not sure why.
Get my good hit here.
If you die on that pallet, I have BL.
I got Nia taking a hit.
And my chat says she's reinventing the meta. Just please let her cook.
Okay. I don't know what she's cooking.
You know what? That makes sense. Yeah, honestly, if you have plot twist. Somebody in my chat just said, does he have his Twitch shirt on? It makes killers play different.
I'm gonna plot twist underneath the pallet.
Okay.
Oh, never mind, I lied. I think I get hit here because I'm hindered. Shouldn't swing. Oop. Madam? What is this creature?
It's gotta be the Twitch shirt.
It has to be at this point. It's fine. I just wish I had conviction active, but that was the first one she chased. Yeah, so going back to like choosing to run a slugging play style. What's the best way for me to explain this like mid-game? Crawl to the other pallet here, actually. Where's this one? Over here. I'll recover. Don't mean to distract? No, it's not your fault. It's the nature of being a streamer. A lot of it has to do with just adapting the most efficient build and play style to the constant perks you're playing against. That's it.
Yeah, and that's
really
like inherent in a lot of games.
Every game, yeah.
People are always going to try to optimize the fun out of everything.
If survivors are running perks that are giving them a benefit to their objective for the killer doing their normal role, they're going to do something that is abnormal if they can achieve the same result. Which is slugging instead of hooking, because they can still win the game.
How do you handle it? I'm genuinely curious. Oh, how do you handle what, bub?
Are you trying to get the Prion invite on Twitter myself? Oh, to have a debate with them?
Okay, I see you're on a pallet.
Pallet? Yeah, Ace could come and throw the pallet. Gamer, you could.
I'll throw the pallet. I don't know what he's doing.
Oh, that's a spicy meatball. Hold on. 500 IQ play if it works.
I think I have like one more chance to pick you up. Oh, Ace had UB, huh? Or Nia's there.
I guess there's no reason. Oh no, Gamer, you just missed I gotta outrun Noed here. She's getting the totem, probably. I'll just range so I don't get slapped.
Somebody in my chat says, how do you handle it, the people that target you for Twitch shirts?
Dude, I fucking love this. This is why I play Survivor.
Exactly, that's why I want to get Twitch shirts.
I want attention. I mean, obviously it sucks if I get... Okay, so let me put it this way. I played against Momo, and I played, I'm pretty sure, when he was only on TikTok initially, and he was, like, very new to Twitch, and he was still streaking. I mean, I've made this very clear. I don't like playing against Momo. Because he is very good, and he knows how to exploit survivors, and I mostly play, like, casual. So when Momo targets me, it sucks. It's like, Blight's very strong. I played against his Dracula win streak. It's tough. But, like, most of the killers aren't of that level. And they tend to make a lot of mistakes that you can take advantage of in a 1v1. Momo doesn't really do that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, when I realize that I'm against him, I consider it a win if I can hit DH against him.
Exactly. Your win con changes the better play. Like, if you're playing against one of the best nurse, Blight, or ghoul players in the world, and you can kind of sense that from the way they're playing, your objective isn't necessarily, oh, I'm going to escape this. It's like, I'm in solo. If I get a flashlight save, huge W.
Yeah, like, I'm solo queue. We're definitely not winning this game because this killer has really good game sense and is going to proxy camp correctly. Then my win changes to, did I have a good chase against this really good player?
Right, exactly. Oh no, am I gonna get conviction off? Or am I gonna die? Well, I guess I'm dead.
She went to pick me up, and I made it out the gate. No, she didn't.
Oh. That's funny.
That was an interesting creature.
That was.
I don't know, just send the samples to the lab and we'll study her.
Yeah. I mean, she was smiling, so she must have had a good time, I guess. That's good.
She destroyed the purple shirt. Well, in her opinion.
Yeah, like, if I can get more chases, like, there are some games also, though, and it's sometimes the frustration of Survivor. It's one of the elements that's kind of beyond our control. If the killer never wants to interact with you and they find the worst survivor and kill them, I mean, good luck. Play for Hatch. Like, sometimes you get no chase time, and it's completely up to the killer. Kinda
Yeah,
just
I
the
mean, that
nature
happens a
of the
lot to
game.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, my chat says most content creators want that content, so they want they wear the shirt.
Yeah.
Like me,
Yeah, I mean-
I applied to the creator program when I was like still below the CCV, so I got rejected. But I reapplied, and right now I'm like waiting to see if I got in. It's been a while, since I applied.
Do you upload to YouTube or TikTok? Or
I started doing TikTok recently.
Okay.
No idea how the platform works. I just post, and it
Yes.
usually just doesn't do well. I don't
It's
think
way
I think
different than it
TikTok
used to
really
be.
hates feel like TikTok doesn't like killer gameplay.
No.
Like I posted the
no.
most mid Survivor clip ever, and it did like 5
Yeah.
times better than any of my awesome killer clips.
That's kind of true. Yeah, I kind of got lucky with TikTok and YouTube, because like back when TikTok came out, I never knew, like, it really wasn't a gaming platform, and one of my buddies actually was like, "Oh, you should upload some of your clips that you have like to TikTok," because I'd show them clips every now and then. I'm like, but isn't TikTok like people do funny dance? I was so boomer. I'm like, isn't TikTok funny dance?
Oh,
He's like,
yeah.
yeah, but I see a gaming clip on there every now and then. So I started doing it, and like not many people were, and it, you know, like I got followers pretty fast. Like some of my old clips that, you know, I just decided to edit and turn into TikToks. The same thing with YouTube. Before they started pushing shorts, I'm like, oh, YouTube does like, you know, short form content. Just literally re-uploaded my TikToks to there, and then when they started pushing it, it was like 30,000 subs in like a year. But like the thing that I don't really like about, well, I don't like editing. Period.
Neither
Fucking
do I.
bores
I'm
me.
terrible at it.
I don't have the patience for it, and like I have ideas in my head, but I don't want to sit down and do it. The algorithm for like TikTok and YouTube is fluctuating, and what might work for certain creators might not work for you. What worked in the beginning of like a game's blow up on a platform might not work anymore. Like you have to be willing to be innovative and also just throw shit at the wall, because sometimes, like you said, a lot of people share the same sentiment. Sometimes their most time invested edited short or TikTok does the worst, and like sometimes just a clip, raw, funny moment does the best. There's an element of randomness to all of it.
Yeah, that's true. I used to do like edited YouTube shorts. Like my wife would edit them for me because she's better at it. But then like when we had the baby, there was no more time to do that. So like I have some YouTube shorts that got a lot of views. But yeah, now if I post anything on those platforms, it's just an unedited Twitch clip. And like I post on YouTube sometimes, but it takes so long to make those videos that I just can't be regular with it. And I mean, honestly, like I know that like short form content was kind of like a shortcut to getting into the creator program, and I just wasn't doing it at all when I applied the first time. But now, I don't know. I'm pretty confident about it because my CCV is like above the requirement now.
Cool. Well, hopefully you get in. I mean, I know like I think I've seen a lot of rejections lately. I don't know if they're maybe more stringent on like second or third wave of people, but I don't really know. It's kind of cool. Like, they actually seem to be willing to listen to a lot of people's input, and like there's threads in the Discord for our takes on like new content and patches and TVs. So it does feel like, you know, the devs directly are looking at our input.
Yeah, that's really cool. He just randomly teleported to that gen, like, and came out on top of me. I thought he had the add-on that makes it, like, go to every gen, so I just didn't move, because I was like, why would he be teleporting away from you?
Is that still an add-on?
I think so.
Seems to like you.
I'm taking him to main.
If you get angry at me hovering for you, just yell at me.
Oh, don't worry about it. I don't take Survivor games, like, incredibly seriously. He left me.
What the? Oh, he's gone. Okay. There's no, I can heal you if you want.
Oh yeah, let me just get rid of my...
Probably.
get
Yeah,
the clock.
is there a clock over here? Yeah. You might need to snap me out in a second.
Oh yeah, let me snap you out.
Unless you want the killer coming. Behavior just had another round of layoffs. I don't know what the company's... That's...
Sorry guys, I
that
forgot
is an
about the overlay.
interesting talking point. I don't know. Did you see Scott Junn's tweet about
I did, where he was talking
Yeah.
about corporate overhiring from the pandemic.
Yeah, it's kind of a certain level of that is kind of just normal.
Yeah, like when you have like a large corporation, layoffs are going to happen to an extent, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people in the DBD community are either too young to
Yeah.
understand how a corporation works, or maybe that is just it. Yeah, it's a hard thing to talk about because like you don't want people to lose their jobs. But then like on the other hand, you don't know if that came from like one executive's poor decision making about like, oh, we're gonna do
Right.
this and it's gonna pay off this way in 5 years, and then it just doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Like if they have a planned project and like, you know, somebody oversells and under-delivers something, and like as a result they have to let people go. I mean, I was kind of been a victim of pieces of that myself. Like it's just part of being part of a corp, I feel like.
Yeah,
No,
for
I,
sure.
I do think like if a company is super profitable to the extent where it's like, you know, they've let go of a small group of people that they just say they can't afford when the numbers prove otherwise, then that's obviously a
Yeah, and we don't really have all the information. Like, I don't know, like in Canada, do they like release shareholder data or dividends or something? I don't
I
know.
have no idea.
Like that's the data that I would have to see to judge whether like, okay, are these layoffs like malicious or did somebody screw up
Right.
5 years ago?
I suppose you said you're a lawyer, aren't you?
Yeah. So I had to like grind and study a bunch of fields of law that I will never use
Sure.
to pass the
Yeah.
bar exam,
Yeah.
and one of those was corporations.
Yeah. My background for school is in business and marketing, and I worked at a bank for like 7 years.
Oh, nice.
So I'm familiar with kind of the corporate structure and politics and all that crap.
I'm gonna give this guy babysitter, I think.
Swung twice at shack window.
Oh yeah, I can see him chasing you at Shack on babysitter.
That's right. See if I can get him to swing for a third. It's too close.
He's going to the gen.
Yeah, I'm gonna run. Oh, wow. Is it? Do you know with Freddy, is it fixed where he comes out? Like, if you teleport to a gen, are you always going to come out here, or is it based on like
don't
where
think
he is?
so. But I also don't play enough Freddy to tell you for sure.
He came out
Because
on
like
the
there, he
opposite side
came
of
out
gen,
on
right?
the side that you were running the boat.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he's leaving me again. You heard it was always the left side? Someone in my chat said it's always the left side that he comes out.
Left side.
Like, I guess if you're facing the long part of the gen.
Technically, the way that I look at that, that was the right side.
True.
Well,
yeah.
Nick just took my pallet. He like gave me room to run, and then he retook control of the pallet to body block me.
Are you on a pallet?
Yeah, I'm getting healed by Wiglif. Pretty sure that was the bat. Body block the hook.
I don't even own Freddy because he was so bad when I started. For the longest time, I didn't even own Freddy. Like, I think he was the last killer that I didn't own.
I was the same way with, like, Pig and some other kill. Oh my gosh. My ass has just been running around this entire time trying to get healed once. I might just watch this. I'm almost fully healed.
He is still at that boat.
Yeah, he wants to find me. He might. He probably thinks I went into the corner of the map, which I did not. I went somewhere a little bit less obvious.
But yeah, I got gifted Freddy as a prank by an old teammate of mine from competitive.
That's funny. Was it something you could... Oh, you could have probably declined
I could have declined it, but like, I don't know. I wanted to commit to the bit.
Nice.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. You never know if you don't try.
I mean, sometimes they have like little terrain objects that like don't exist for the purpose of killer powers. Like, what is that? That part of the crane on Autohaven that you can just shoot killer powers through for no reason.
That's still a thing.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I didn't even know about Freddy, is that if you get hit by a fake pallet when you're awake, it automatically sleeps you.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, okay, I'm going to run through this because I'm awake, and it put me to sleep.
I knew that. So, did you... I don't know if this would have been before your time. It would have been close. Did you play against Forever Freddy with, like...
No, I
where you would
didn't.
run infinite? No.
The thing...
That might have been patched out.
The thing that was happening when I bought the game was, the boil over buff in the RPD library.
Oh god, yeah. Yep. I think that's the reason why they got rid of it.
Yep.
That fucking library. Stop. Just finished the last gen, but he's also just constantly teleporting. Do you even have anything up there?
Yeah, the main pallet is actually still here.
Okay. He's
And then I have a log out
I'll go
front.
back for your gen. Did your chat have anything crazy to say about me? Do they think I'm
No, not really.
Survivor main? No,
Not
nothing
really at all.
juicy?
No. In fact, I feel like my chat is I have a fair amount of Survivor mains in my chat too.
I think that tends to happen when you're at least realistic about the state of the game and like what's going on.
I have somebody in my chat who has played one game of Killer in their life, and it was 2v8 Legion.
Yeah, he ain't ever gonna be playing that again. That man is never coming back to 2v8.
But yeah, like I feel like my community is pretty balanced in like our opinions. We're not like those darn cheating Swifts in their discords.
Yeah, no, I mean that is like such an egregious outlier of like free player sentiment, but it does exist. Is Nick coming for you?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't seen him most of this game, so. Jay, I appreciate you being a little shit starter every now and then. You gave us some like topics. Put it that way. He's gonna interrupt me.
Which gen are you on?
Small boat.
Okay. Me playing Survivor is an extremely rare occurrence, but I try to keep a rational, open mind about balance and such. See, yeah, that's what you want. Vanishing Point. I agree. I'm just gonna hold W away from boat.
I don't want to be that guy, but I literally don't know what our Nick is doing.
I'm not really too sure either. Oh, that was actually a crazy play by him. I'm dead. He teleported to the gen on top of docks and then fell on me.
Oh, dear. I mean, he seems like a smart Freddy. He's playing really well.
Because I thought he was going back to your gen.
Oh, yeah, because, okay, so he did something I didn't know you could... I guess I should have known. He was teleporting to a gen, holding it in a direction that was away from you, and I was like, oh, he's leaving chase with you. But he actually just teleported to a gen, I think, in front of you, which confused the hell out of me, because I didn't even think you could... I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did that. Check his add-ons. Yeah, I'll wait and see, bub.
Okay, so is comp clock, is main always 12 and Shack is 6 typically? Is that how they do
Almost
it?
always. They try to make it like that, but it's not always possible. Like, I guess like your standard map like Coal Tower, main 12, Shack 6. But then if you have a map where things aren't so vertical, like say something like Ormond, they still have 12 at like the top of the map vertical from main building, but then Shack is like 5 because it's off to the right or left.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
So they almost always use main building as the point of orientation.
I don't really know what to do. I can't pick this guy up because he's crawling. I can't go for a door because Well, that's not gonna work. I should probably maybe find Noed. Oh, that's not good for me. I think I'm cooked.
That's the exit gate teleport add-on. No Ed's by Shaq, by the way.
He didn't see me. I don't know if this is gonna work. Nick, you should really start recovering, not crawling. See, it's plays like this where, like, I wish survivors understood that it's crucial that he recovers and not crawl. Because, like, I haven't started a door. There's no way I can open it. And if I can't pick him up, then I have no mind game. Oh, I didn't even hear it.
GG's Nick was low-key trolling, frolicking around all match. Yeah, we noticed, Spit Bucket. The Renato just came to my chat and said, GG's Nick was low-key frolicking around all match.
I thought he just really wasn't on gens.
He's got 9 fast track stacks right now, and he hasn't used them. He also has Lithe Sprint Burst.
Think I can get Hatch in the time it takes me to before I die? How did he know where Hatch was gonna spawn?
On this map? Wow.
Is that not a little bit odd that instead of running to pick me up and kill me, he ran?
Oh wait,
right
he opened the
for
door
Hatch?
for you.
Oh, bro, I was so confused. Okay. I was gonna say, what the hell is that? Never mind. Let's use this man who cheated.
And maybe he noticed that the Nick was kind of trolling.
That's odd.
Add-ons, black box, and class photo.
Juice. Huh.
All right. Well, I hate to
Maybe
say
that
it,
fast
but
track, though.
I'm out of time. This is
Oh, no,
usually
it's all
when I
good.
go off.
No, it's all good. It's cool.
Yeah. So,
Hey, I mean, I'm down to Swift again.
oh,
if you
GG's
want, at some point in
Axe
the future.
Romo. You were really good, Freddy. Oh yeah, for sure. We could definitely do this again sometime. Well, it was great to talk with you, and
Yeah.
it was
Good
really fun.
discussion.
Good discussion.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I'll see you later.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for taking your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night.
Yep. You too.
Yeah, GG's Axe Romo. You were really good, Freddy. Like the way you were hiding your teleport, using it in chase and such. But that's the end for me.